The Fishing Gurus Podcast.
Right, I'm going to kick off because I really want to ask you this question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Closed season, very topical.
Yeah, especially nowadays.
Yeah, it ended not that many weeks ago now. The closed season on rivers, Wayne, what's your opinion on it? Good, bad, for it, against it?
I'm all for no closed season. We'll start again. Yeah. I am all for a closed season.
So you are for it?
Yeah, I'll never change my mind on that.
Right.
Basically, not just because of the fishing, because of other wildlife and things like that.
Mm.
And I think the fish do need a rest.
Do you?
I think there should be a closed season on everything still.
What, even lakes?
Even lakes, yeah.
Because when they used to shut it, that was it, wasn't it? Like, there were no fishing anywhere.
No fishing apart from the Stolen Fortnight where they used to, up your way, Sheffield and that. They used to start 2 weeks earlier, so we used to go up there fishing.
What's that then, Stolen Fortnight?
Just so it used to open 2 weeks before anywhere else.
Right.
Yeah, mad really, but I don't know why. But that's what they used to call it, Stolen Fortnight, and they used to have matches. We used to go on matches at Worsborough because it was open. Obbo used to run his match there. We all used to go on that.
Fantastic.
It was crap fishing because there was all spawning. But
right. Do you think like on the rivers and that, Wayne, do you think the fish do spawn in the closed season?
No, not always. It's always temperature related, isn't it? You know, like I told you before, when we went round that fish farm that time at Calverton, the lad that took us explained everything about the temperature has to be at least 8 degrees for the early spawners, which were dace and dace are the first ones that spawn.
Right.
And then it's pike and he says you'll have to wait till the temperature gets up for tension carp to spawn.
Amazing.
But he said it's all temperature related, you know. Everybody thinks perch spawn first, but he said they didn't.
Just the dace
Yeah,
first?
just dace. Even
That's
though the perch
interesting.
are fat for months through the winter. Whether that's spawn or food, I'll never know. But yeah, but I personally think that you do need to take the pressure off the rivers, let the fish get on with it. I mean, when we used to get to Ireland, we used to catch all the fish when there was millions there. They'd all gone up the rivers to spawn, really. And did it do it any good? I don't know. You know.
Who knows? Who
knows?
You still have some time off, don't you?
I love it, mate. I mean, I run a few matches now that trickle into the closed season, but once it's finished now, I've done now till June. I ain't going to pick a rod up or go in a tackle shop or do anything now till June.
Do you do any prep? Any rigs are out like that?
I'll start doing a bit of that.
Right.
I'll take a bit of line off my reels and put a bit of fresh line on, and just in case, although no need to really.
Here's one for you then. If the closed season was abolished and you could fish rivers all the way through, would you still have some time off?
Definitely.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. I just like it. After an hard winter, I'm getting at that age now where I just think, well, I'm glad it's come sometimes. You know, it's not long. It's soon. I mean, we've had a month now, and you only get 3 months. You know, I just feel like a break. I love it because I'm gonna get on holiday. You know. Things like that, bit of sun, or in this case it's Alaska, so it's not going to be that sunny.
Alaska?
Yeah, I'm going to Alaska for a couple of weeks.
What's that, on cruise?
A cruise, yeah, round up the inside passage, what's not, hopefully not frozen still.
Wow.
What a mad place to go on a cruise, Alaska.
Yeah, it is, mate.
Have you ever been before?
No.
Will you send us some photos?
Yeah, I'll take some photos, yeah, I'll send them you while I'm there.
Any fishing out there?
I never do any fishing hardly on holiday. The only place I went fishing was Cuba. Off the beach in the morning, but before I'd get up while it was dark, go down to the beach. I used to buy some prawns off the chef. I used to give him a few quid, more than he'd earn in a day. It used to be a big bag of natural prawns, not cooked. And I used to go down there on the beach, just hook one on, chuck it out on a bomb, and all hell were let loose.
Catch a few fish?
Yeah, caught some lovely snappers up to about £5 or £6.
Wow.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's my kind of fishing on the beach in Cuba.
The first one I ever hooked.
Yeah.
It took me. It was like a barbel bite. It just went and it stripped about 100 yards of line off my reel. And I thought, anyway, playing it, and I thought, I could see my line coming back to me, and I thought, I better get out to sea here. I don't know what this is. And when it come up, it was just like a big red perch, about £4. I couldn't believe how it had fought. Crackers.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, but it was fantastic. Yeah.
Well, have a good holiday, mate.
Yeah,
Send us some
brilliant.
photos.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
Wayne Swinscoe, welcome to the Fishing Gurus podcast.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Mate, absolute honour to have you on. You are one of the most asked for people. If you have a little read through the comments, so many people. So when you getting Swinner on? I've been pestering you for a while, Anna.
I wonder why.
I want to start this one a little bit different, Tobes. I need a bit of input from you.
Yeah, no worries.
Now, there's a picture, and I think I've labelled it Picture 1, because when I met Swinno to do a bit of planning, this picture really stuck out for me. I think it's fantastic. And it's you. I don't know how old you are in this photo. Have you got it, Tobes?
Well, if it's the wrong one, I can blame you.
No, that's the one. There he is. Go on, how old are you there, Wayne?
15.
15 years old.
Nearly 16. That was my last year I could fish the juvenile match at Burton Joyce.
And what is that picture all about? It's you picking up a trophy.
Yeah, I won the match. 15. £6.14 a gudgeon, 1969 that is.
1969.
And that was the match that set me on the road to wanting to match fish for the rest of...
Were it a big match?
Unbelievably, mate, there were 300 in it.
Juniors?
Yeah, 300 juniors. There used to be a Knots Fed one with about 300, and Knots Anglers used to have about 50 in for some reason.
Wow.
But they used to come, that's at the back of the Nelson pub.
Yeah.
Where we went the other day.
Yeah, that's where we did our planning, innit?
Yeah, and that gentleman presented me with the trophies, Mog Story, who won the national, and I also think he fished for England, if I'm not right.
Right, wow.
Yeah. And that day, one of my best mates, Steve Draper, was second. He had £4. I had 6.14, all black gudgeon. Trent was not so good then, mate, polluted, but it was all right. You could get bites all over the place, but in the summer you never caught many roach or anything like that.
How did you get into match fishing like that, Wayne? Where did it start for you?
Well, probably, obviously, through club matches and things like that. When I got old enough to go on club matches, I went on club matches from various clubs in Nottingham. I wasn't really in many clubs, but I used to get, I used to ring up, say you got a match and things like that, and they'd say, yeah, come along. But they'd never let you go in the senior pools or anything like that. You went in the junior pool. But that's how I got into it. And my family's not a fishing family.
How did you get into it in first place then?
Well, I used to go, 8 to 9 picnics with my mum and dad. We used to go places like Clumber Park and places like that. And I always used to sort of like go and watch if there's somebody fishing, I'd go and watch him. I don't know why, I'd just go and watch him.
Just like inquisitive about it.
Just inquisitive, and I just used to sit down behind him, and I'd probably be there ages, and my dad would come and find me. I might have gone off 200 or 300 yards, you know what I mean? Which you could in them days without, you know what I mean? But I used to sit there for ages watching. And after a couple of times, my dad said, do you fancy doing this then? I said, I won't mind to go at it. We ain't got a clue, because my dad didn't go fishing. Nobody in the family went fishing. Which was strange in them days, because an awful lot of people went fishing, because there were so many pub clubs, working men's angling clubs, factory clubs, especially in Nottingham. We had a vast club scene.
Like all the industries went, didn't they?
All the industries went, mate. Yeah. I mean, early on in Nottingham, it was Players, who I eventually worked for, Rally, which did the bikes, Boots, and obviously,
pharmaceutical boots.
Yeah. And Rally's gone to China, went to China ages ago. All the factories shut in Nottingham. And Players was a big concern, and they've all gone abroad now. There's just the head offices left in England now.
Wow.
And that's it.
And how did you get good at it? Like, so from literally starting with your dad?
Well, I wasn't very good at it to start. It took me a couple of goes to catch a fish. And then I think I caught a roach at Clumber Park, which excited me. It just gives you that hunter feeling, you know what I mean? Yeah, you get it, and all the adrenaline's going. And I went to a couple of other places like Woollerton Park, Martin's Pond, that were local lakes. My dad took me. And we started to get a few bites, and obviously you get into it. And then my dad's friend at work, Barry Green, used to go fishing. And he invited me to come along with my dad when we used to go mostly either the Willers at Wilford, which was opposite the embankment.
On Trent.
On Trent, yeah. And we used to catch a few there. And then, especially in the winter time, but in summer we used to go on the Upper Welland at Market Deeping.
Right.
And that was fantastic.
Little river there in it.
Tiny river. It's about 12 or 14 metres wide, shallow, gin clear. It was absolutely crystal clear. Loads of weed, streamer weed in it, but absolutely solid with fish.
And you never used to fish matches then, just pleasuring with?
Just pleasuring, yeah. I never fished any matches then. I was probably, when we started to go on the Welland, I was probably 11 or 12, something like that.
Wow.
And you could see all the fish. And it was amazing that there were never any. We used to go on a Sunday about every couple of weeks. There was never anybody else there fishing. It was amazing. You know, we used to batter the nettles down and things like that, and just sit down, and it was just solid with fish.
Do you think they'd be there now if we went and had a look?
Well, I've not looked in the summer, but a few times when I've come back from the town Welland, because I come back that way sometimes just for a look, and it's different in winter. The winter's dark, but I still think there'd be an awful lot of fish there. Yeah,
it'd be good to go back and have a little go.
I might go. We don't. The trouble is, we don't go on the Welland, Big Welland anymore, so I never get that way now. But it was fantastic fishing. Fantastic. Even in shallow water, there were loads of bream, things like that, roach, dace, chub, everything, gudgeon.
Did you learn a lot in that little stage of fishing, pleasure fishing, that sort of set you up for the match fishing you were going to do?
Mate, I learned so much fishing there because you could actually see what was going off. You know, I mean, we ain't got the tackle we've got now. We used to have probably had a 10-foot rod. Might have had an Intrepid fixed spool reel by then.
I've heard of them.
Yeah. And no stick floats. We used to fish porcupine quills, but they were flat tops. I used to go and get them from, used to cut the top off, and it looked like a little stick float.
Ah.
Yeah, a little ring on the bottom. We used to get them from Tom Watson's shop in near Trent Bridge.
Right, in Nottingham.
Yeah, in Nottingham, mate, yeah. And always used hooks to nylon. Never knew how to tie hooks, but the hooks were brilliant. There were gold hooks, and there was whipped on. There were no spade. They were just whipped on with like a yellow silk. Never come off.
What?
Yeah, never come off. And and the biggest thing I learned was obviously presentation and things like that. But actually, how many bites you got, and your float never moved.
What? Because you can see the fish.
Could see the fish it was that clear, and the fish would come that close that you could actually see the roaches. Coloured eyes, orange eyes, and things like that.
That must have been exciting as a kid.
Unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable. And you chuck some maggots in, and you put your float in. I mean, it was all crude, and all your maggots was all different colours because you just used to go in and ask for a pint to mix, you know. And that's all we took, maggots. We didn't take anything else. And they used to come and suck your bait in, blow it out straight away. Your maggot wasn't marked. You could lift your maggot out and it wasn't marked. It was still riddling. And you'd probably get that 3 or 4 times to run down.
Really?
And it didn't matter what they were, dace, roach, chub. They'd come up, suck your maggot in and blow it out. Your float would never move.
How often does that happen when we're fishing?
All the time.
All
the time, mate.
The few times that you do get it bust is where they've swallowed it right down.
Yeah. The only times your float went under, the fish had probably swam a foot, 18 inches with your bait in its mouth. And most of them come up to just suck it in and stop there and blow it out immediately.
Not get hooked?
Not get hooked at all, no.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's one of the main things I learned. And it's like when you mend your line, sometimes you mend your line on Trent and you go, there's one on.
Yeah, you've got one.
And you're not seeing a bite. Well, that's the same thing. If you just actually move your float when they've sucked it in.
Just a lucky timing.
Yeah, lucky timing. And it probably happens 3 or 4 times a year to you. You know what I mean?
You sometimes do it on feeder, pick up, and there's one on, hanging on.
Yeah.
Wonder how many times people have blanked, but a fish has actually had the bait in the mouth.
Probably a lot more times than they think.
Yeah. I bet.
It was just fantastic to see that.
You know, obviously, I know you got into serious match fishing at a young age. We've seen the picture. How did you get into that? Because you must have been quite self-taught. If you've gone from a non-fishing family and just done pleasure fishing and ended up fishing 300 peg junior matches, was it all self-taught back then?
Most of it was back then, yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the early days, when I got to about 16, there was I used to go in the local tackle shops all the time, Terry Dorman's tackle shop, and they used to run a few matches at places like Whitemore Grove and on the Trent, and I used to go in a few of them, but I was never anywhere near winning anything on them. It was great fishing, like Ted Stokes and Terry Dorman and one or two of them. They used to catch 20-odd pound of roach every week at Whitemore Grove. It was fantastic fishing.
Terry Dorman, is that where like Dorman's maggots comes from?
Yeah. I used to work in there sometimes when I was that age on a Friday night while Terry and his wife Marg went up the pub. I used to riddle about 1 million gallon of casters off in the cellar.
Really?
Yeah, and look after his 2 kids at the same time. Yeah, Billy and Vicky. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird, mate. But it was good. And I used to go in there and they say, come along. And I drifted between them sort of matches. There was odd match elsewhere as well, Clifton Grove. And then I couldn't catch oats or do any good. So I used to go back to club match fishing for a bit. And for probably 3 or 4 years, I was doing that, drifting in and out. But there was also, when I wasn't catching out, I was going watching people and things like that.
What, like mid-match?
Mid-match, I'd just jacket and think I'm going to watch somebody.
Right.
And I used to go and watch people like Pete Warren and things like that, and Terry and Ted and Frank and all that lot. The fields were brilliant, really.
But there were no YouTube. You couldn't go on internet and watch a video of fishing.
No, nothing.
When did it click for you? When did you start to, do well in open matches and that kind of thing?
Well, it took a while, mate. I always think, like now, these young lads come along like yourself, and you're brilliant. You're instantly brilliant. You understand fishing more than a lot of people, but you just clip a rig on now and you're away. But then it took you a lot. It was like I always thought it was a 5 or 6 year apprenticeship, mastering the stick float waggler fishing, and there were no poles in them days, And the tackle, you had to make. Sometimes you had to make your own wagglers and things like that. You couldn't buy them.
Right.
There were stick floats about, but they were like Trent caster stick floats, and then fortunately we used to get a few Pete Warren stick floats come out, and they was good. And it just took me a little while to master it. And then when I got to about 18 or 19, like when I used to go to Whitemore Grove, I used to catch like 40 roach, and all the top lads used to catch 80. And I was like stuck in this groove of 40-ish all the time. And I used to think, and it was caster fishing, and I was trying to master casters,
Yeah.
And eventually, it was all down to presentation and feeding, and you didn't know what you're doing really, but you grew into it. But it was just how it was. You couldn't really know what you was actually doing, what had made you better.
I was just going to ask you then, was there any particular times you watched anyone or any turning points for you where you suddenly thought, that's what I'm doing wrong, or that's the edge?
Yeah, loads of times, mate, with your float presentation.
What were the edges, Wayne? What were making them few anglers that caught 80 better than you that were catching 40?
Just experience, really, mate, and how to fish the give and peg on the day, whether it be waggler, stick float. There were no whips or bollos or long poles or anything like that. You just had to master. Trent had always got a downstream wind on it. I can always remember people that come from like West Midlands where you used to fish the Avon and the Severn. They also had upstream winds. They come on Trent, they just couldn't tack it, most of them, because of the wind. But that's what you had to learn. Where you put your float down, it's downstream in a downstream wind and fed down there, and the pegging was tight. You had to get everything right. And
like for people listening who maybe haven't fished the Trent, why is an upstream or a downstream wind important?
Well, just pour stick float on, you'll find out. Because, it just upstream wind, as long as it's not too strong. When we used to get an east wind on Trent and it blew, we used to put rollers on it, and it was horrible then. But a downstream wind, you just couldn't control your float properly.
Because the wind's blowing
your line. You had to put back shots on, and when you got in that, you learnt all this thing by watching people and doing it. And you had to start your float off down your peg a bit so you could get your line behind your float.
Right.
Like when you went on the Avon, the Brummers used to feed upstream and chuck the float upstream because it was fishing straight away.
Right.
Because of the upstream wind, where our rigs weren't fishing till we'd got everything sorted out, like a third of the way down your peg at least.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing hearing it in them early days. Like, presentation was such a massive
presentation
thing.
And where to feed in your peg was massive, mate.
Right.
Massive.
And in terms of like you and your fishing, and obviously we've told a few people on Facebook that you're coming on the podcast. You're referred to as the river legend. Even I remember watching Wayne's Waggler and all that kind of thing. Went beaten with a stick, them videos at Twyford.
Yeah.
In terms of like the venues you used to fish when you got into your open match scene at a young age, where was it and what were the scene like then?
Well, the scene was massive, really, mate. But not so many matches, but big matches. You know, we used to fish more. It's like when we had club matches, and I used to go on club matches. Not many in the summer. None of them, hardly any of them went on the Trent. They all went into the Fens or the U's. Right. Which stood me in great stead for future years. So at that time, when I was like into my match fishing, and I started like when I was 20 properly. You know, I could drive. I got a car then, and I used to go pick people up. Pete Palmer, Roy Tolson, Don, and all that. We used to go.
Don Slaymaker.
Yeah, Don's Frank Barlow. We used to go Dunham and all that. And Trent wasn't very good in summer. It was it was too warm. It was powered with the power stations. It was well, in winter it steamed, and in summer it was just too hot.
Wow.
You just couldn't catch many fish. You know, so we all used to go out in the Fens. You know, Welland and Neen and Witham and the drains and that, and it was really good fishing.
What that I hear people talk about the matches out there, and the numbers on them are phenomenal.
Oh, mate, yeah, we was lucky in the fact that we used to have, like, from your area, Sheffield, all the breweries used to sponsor big matches.
Right.
And there was a lot on the Welland and the Witham, and there was called brewery matches, Stones, the Wards, Tetley. Yeah. And there was, you know, 800 in them all the time. The Welland Championship, it'd be a sellout with 850 in.
Crazy.
And all big matches, mate. Yeah, a lot of 500 peggers on the Witham and 300 peggers. Because there weren't loads of matches, everybody went to them.
Got you.
It wasn't like this day and age where there's like 3 matches. You can go 3 or 4 matches on a Saturday and as many as you want on a Sunday and midweek. There were none of that. There was like some big matches, but very rarely did you fish early on. Very rarely did you fish 2 in a weekend. You might fish 2 in a weekend, but then you might be one for the next 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everybody went to them.
Almost like all the anglers went to that particular match.
Yeah, there was obviously loads of club matches, massive amounts of club matches, but then you wanted to step up and go in that matches.
What were your favourite venue at? Are all them Fenland ones?
I always wanted to win the Welland Championship.
Right.
Because it had got a bit of mystique to it. There's some fantastic characters on there, like Big Jim Todd, massive bloke, brilliant on the swing tip.
Yeah.
Ivan Marks, the Art Brothers, the Waldrons, the Fosters. You know, there was loads of them that you read about all the time in the papers, the angling papers.
And they used to do well in these big matches.
Oh, yeah. I got really friendly with Russell Foster. I used to, if I wasn't catching out, I used to go and watch him. I used to find out where he'd drawn. I used to go and watch him.
Did they not mind you?
No, he used
to
say, sit down, lad, and we used to have a chat while he was swing tipping. And swing tipping, no feeders, bomb on, paternoster, feeding by hand with balls of ground bait. It was fantastic, mate.
Wow.
Gozzers, homemade maggots.
What made them so good then, Wayne? To stand out in a field of 800 back in them days, they must have been doing something right.
Well, yeah, they just understood more what they were doing than anybody else, where to fish in the rivers. I mean, the Welland was a funny shaped river. It was like, further you went up it into the shallows, it was like a W shape. You sometimes be weed down the middle, and there'd be like 2 channels, and they used to fish in the far channel.
Right.
And it was precise where, when they used to throw the ground bait in, mate, and where the biggest thing was feeding by hand. You couldn't loose feed anything. There were no catapults or anything like that. And they used to feed. Your ground bait was simple, mate. It's either brown and white ground bait or white brown bait or brown ground bait. There were no, no chopped worms, anything like that.
Didn't you used to use chopped worms?
No, chopped worms was invented years later. They used to put red worms on the hook. I mean, if you'd have been the first person to fish chopped worm on the Welland, I think you'd have emptied it everywhere you went.
But when did it come about? That's mind-blowing, because it's always been there for my generation.
A long time after that, mate. A long time after that.
When was the first time you heard about chopped worms?
I couldn't tell you the year, because but a long, long time after that.
Wow.
I would say, mate, maybe late 80s.
That's crackers, isn't it?
Maybe when I fished for Essex, yeah. Because there were no Dandrobinas out then, was there?
You just used to dig up your own.
All you used to do was put redworms on the hook. You could get redworms, but there were no Dandrobinas. There were lobworms. You used to fish lobworm in winter, but you never chopped them all.
Just put them on.
Just put them on the hook.
I'd like to know the first person that thought, you know what, I'm going to chop this up today.
Well, I would, to be honest, because if he'd have kept it to himself, he'd have made a fortune. You know what I mean? But it got out, and it was brilliant everywhere you went, but none of that then. It was just how they fed it and when to feed it. I mean, it all changed in the, when feeders come round, you just plopped a feeder in, whether you put any bait in your ground bait or what, but it was precise feeding. If you fed at the wrong time when they're bream you in the peg, it sort of used to spook them. There were never massive weights, like 25, 30 pound were a winning weight of a...
And that were bream?
That was all bream, mate.
Right.
Yeah, maybe an odd tench with them, but...
When, I'm really intrigued, when did you first start to hear about feeders and that way? Because it's crazy that they weren't there then.
No, they weren't, mate. I would say probably... 80-ish, but there was no feeders like we used to make your own sort of thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
But there were never any then. I mean, I'm talking about probably middle, late 70s, you know what I mean, when I was going on the Welland and watching Russell and that. But they soon caught on, you know what I mean? But it changed everything then, because everybody could chuck a feeder in where they wanted and fill it with ground bait, and the skill had gone out of bream fishing, really.
All that art of throwing it, accuracy,
Oh,
knowing
mate,
when to
Ivan
feed.
Mark, Big Jim Todd was amazing. He could sit on he's a big lad.
Yeah.
But tall, massive he was, frightening. Lovely bloke, don't get me wrong. I'm not sure, but I think he's still alive. I'm not sure.
Right.
And
be interesting to know if anyone listening knows. Let us know.
Yeah. And I've watched him, and he used to make a ball of ground bait up, and honestly, his hands were big. His balls of ground bait were like that, and it was virtually all casters.
Really?
They looked like there was a pint of casters in it. You could not see any ground bait, just white specks. I don't know how he did it. And he'd sit on his box. He wouldn't stand up. It's on his basket. He'd sit on his basket, just go like that, and he'd throw this ball of ground bait, and it never split up. And it would go like 3/4 of the way across the Welland, just hit the water, and that was it. And I never asked him how he did it. I was a bit frightened of him, to be honest, a bit in awe of him.
Right.
But he was a great bloke, and he was a fantastic bream angler.
You used to win a lot on there.
Yeah, he used to win a lot on there and on the anywhere it was swing tipping. And no quiver tips then either. It was swing tipping.
Tell us what a swing tip is, Wayne.
God.
Obviously, I know what one is, but there'll be loads of people listening who are like, swing tip? Do you know what a swing tip is, Toe?
I was about to say, I haven't got a clue.
Tell us what a swing tip is.
It was just an indicator on the end of your rod. And it was there was various designs, but basically it was just a bit of fine nylon that come out of the end. It used to screw them in, the first ones.
Right.
There was about so long.
Foot long.
Yeah, and the top 3 or 4 inches were fine nylon with a thread on it, and your top eye on your feeder rod had to have one of these with a thread in it, and you just screwed them in, threaded the line through, and basically with a line slack that just hung down off your rod like that, and then when you got a bite, it just went straight out like that.
Quite sensitive, then.
Very sensitive. Probably the best way to catch fish, really. But when the river was pulling, it was odd you had to wind lead on and things like that, because obviously the line tightened up and your tip went up.
So you needed a heavier quiver, a heavier swing tip.
We used to get lead wire and wrap it round, so to keep them down. But when you got got a bite and it was going up, it was fantastic sight and feeling.
I'd love to. We ought to go fishing one day, quiver tip versus swing tip, and do a little thing, didn't we? I'd love to go and have a go at it. I've never seen one in action ever.
Yeah, there was sometimes when it was windy, because they were floppy, there was hard to cast out. The line went round them and things like that.
Do they still use them?
No.
I've never seen one for years, but I haven't even got any anymore. I haven't seen any in any shops, but I bet there's plenty of people that's got them still. And then eventually, the rods were designed where there was already in the rod.
Right.
So you didn't have to screw them in, because when you screwed them in a few times, the thread worn and the eyes was like different. yeah.
That's got crack off written
Yeah,
all
all
over it.
over it, mate. I've had a few of them with them, trust me. Yeah.
On a personal note, talking about like the Welland and that sort of thing, you said you always wanted to win the Welland Championship.
Yeah.
How did your match fishing go for you on there? Because you've watched and learnt from all these people that we're talking about, but I want to know a little bit about you and your fishing, your matches on there.
Yeah, it actually changed a bit, actually. When I used to watch them all and fish them all, like on Dave Downs' matches and these big brewery matches, when I was really, I'm talking about 74, something like that. I wasn't very good at it, to be honest. But when we got into the Welland, I used to catch a few fish on tip, but I ain't got the art of feeding right or throwing ground bait. I could throw it, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't that good at it. I mean, I can remember framing in the Welland Championship. This was it was always the first Saturday in July, and it was always too early, I thought, for the river. The river used to get better. We were only 3 weeks into the season, and I can remember coming fifth. I was next to Sam Peter, actually.
Were you really?
Yeah, and we was down low numbers, and they didn't catch many bream down then, because all the bream used to go up to the several fisheries, which was above the match length to spawn. Very weedy, very shallow, and then they used to drop down. There's still some there, but the majority used to go up there, they reckoned. Anyway, I was fifth in it, and I caught on waggler just over the weed. I was catching big roach, odd ones, and I can always remember I put a piece of hemp on, went out. It's the only time I've ever done it in my life. It went under, I've gone clonk, and I've got a bream £4 hooked in on a piece of hemp. Yeah, Stan went mental, and I weighed £9 odd. That was all. £9 odd. I was fifth in the Welland Championships. 800 and something in it.
Never.
Yeah.
'Cause that's crazy.
Yeah, and then in '76 when we had the drought, you can remember the drought when there were no rain at all.
We can't remember.
No,
were you here in '76 though?
20 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was the hottest summer we'd ever had. There was no rain from June. There were no rain at all.
Right.
We used to go pleasure fishing on the Welland, and you had to get down the bank, walk out on the mud. You used to put a bread tray down. There must be hundreds of bread trays still in the bottom of the Welland, because you could never get them out.
You used to leave them in there.
You used to leave them in there, mate. Yeah. And you used to fish a waggler, and it was about that deep down the middle.
Right.
And it was solid. It was chocolate, because there were millions of fish in there, and we used to catch loads. And I drew somewhere, I can't remember where it was. Anyway, I just went and fished waggler down the middle, and I was catching absolutely nothing. And I seen a bream top just past me float, and I thought, where are these? And I shallowed up to about that much, and I caught 6 bream for £18.
Shallow on a waggler.
Shallow on a waggler. It was all off bottom, which sounds, but it happens all the time now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I caught 6 bream for £18 and come 6th. So I was happy.
What match is that in?
That's Welland Championship again.
So you've had
I've had a 5th and a 6th.
Right.
Big matches. And I wanted to win it. And I had my chance. Mate, and blew it, really.
What, on another match?
Yeah, another Welland Championship.
Go on, tell us about that one.
I drew just below 4 Mile Bar Bridge, about 3 pegs down on a bit of a bend. It was never a bit of depth, of course, but shallow close in. And me and my travelling partner, Roy Tolson, we drew next to each other on the same match.
On an 800 pegger?
An 800 pegger, we were next to each other.
What are the chances of that?
I don't know, mate. But what were the chances of going in the right draw bag? Because they used to have like 6 draw bags at the Golden Ball where we drew.
Did they really?
Yeah, because there was that many. You would have been there all day recording your draw and all that. You have to pick a cue, then pick the right bag, really.
No.
Yeah, it was a nightmare, mate. But it was just, they didn't, there was all mixed up. If you drew in one bag, you want all in them pegs, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They mixed them all up. Anyway, we ended up next to each other, drove up there, and I said, I don't really fancy this, do you? And he says, not really. And the river was fishing not so good at the time. It had gone, not many bream, but a lot of skimmers and roach, which suited me, because it was, anyway, we got there, and there was an odd roach topping. Loads of weed, and a lot of weed out, like 10 or 12 metres out of weed. You couldn't get in, so you had to sit on the grass bank. And I started catching roach and skimmers, not big skimmers like a pound and a quarter, but some quality roach up to like 12 ounce. And I just couldn't get the roach out. there was like you struck and wound, and they knew where the weed was. They'd just come straight into it.
We kept losing them.
I lost loads, mate, and I lost a few skimmers in there as well.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was. I couldn't get. I actually even stood on top of me basket trying to get them up. Could get the skimmers up, but I couldn't get the roach up. They're just.
You can tell you can remember this really well, can't you?
I can remember it, mate. Yeah, I wake up with a cold sweat on at night, man. Still thinking about it. Anyway, I weighed in. I had £17 something, and Roy had £11. I was second in the match.
No.
Yeah, I was second, and Joe Waldron of the Waldrons beat me. Good bream angler, but even he caught on the float. He drew a peg where you wouldn't have thought there's a bream going to live, right next to Crowland Bridge, downstream of it, and he caught 5 bream just over the weed.
On a float?
On a float, £20.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I'd lost, yeah.
How many pounds do you reckon you lost that day?
Yeah, at least £10. At least £10.
So you've had the fish on the hook
Oh, yeah,
to win?
mate, just couldn't get them out. It wasn't the weed we get now. It was that weed that used to, I can't remember what it was called, but it was very prevalent to the Welland. It was like come up, laid on top with loads of leaves on it.
Right.
And anywhere you drew with that, you always caught roach over it, to be honest. But it went out just too far. Roy lost a load next to me. We was having a nightmare, mate. But,
How did that feel for you, like, just missing out on the one you wanted to win? 800 pegger.
yeah, and the thing about it, that sort of match finished not long after the Welland Championship,
Right.
you know.
Why
But-
did that come to an end?
I don't know, why did Trent Championship come to an end? I think it was just the rivers started to go off and people didn't want to travel anymore. I mean, when you used to look behind you on the Brewery matches in the Welland Championship, there were buses and parked all the way along it. I don't even think you'd be able to do it anymore.
No.
But it was just fantastic that everybody turned out. The atmosphere at the draw and, you know, after the matches and that were brilliant. We didn't used to get them till late, you know what I mean? It was brilliant.
What was a general day out for you if you were going to something like that, one of the Welland champs?
Where it'd be like, get up at 5 and leave at 6 and not get back till 10 at night. you know?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
I'd
like it
love
was.
that.
And loads of people used to do it. You know.
In terms of other matches on the Welland and that, I'm sure, did you ever win any of the big ones? You talked about all these brewery matches.
Yeah, I won the Tetley on that. We were fortunate because at the time, the fens were starting to go off a bit. And look, most of the brewery matches used to be on the Witham, which was the mecca for South Yorkshire anglers, really. And because it was fishing so poor, this little era, they put them on the Welland for a few years.
Right.
And the Wards used to be on there. The Stones were, I don't think the Stones were. I never got a ticket for that for some reason, but you had to apply through, like the Tetley, you had to apply through a Tetley pub.
Ah.
And we used to get somebody to apply for it in Sheffield because I can't think of a Tetley pub in Nottingham at the time. There probably is now. But you used to get someone to put your team through it. There were teams of 4 and individuals. Probably nothing to fish, probably 5 to fish.
Right.
And they used to sponsor it with a lot of money. And it was a big match to win, a good match. And I drew 2, this particular one when I won it, I drew 270 on what they call Red Barn. Not really a good area.
I love all names.
Yeah,
like
there used to be Green Barn, Red Barn, and because there was a farm there's a barn with a red roof in it.
Right.
That's all it was.
But like when you know, like I used to hear my granddad talk about it, and I hear all you lot talk about like these names. I've heard loads of them before.
Yeah.
The bridges and
That's
the
it,
pound
that's
length
it,
and the stretches and
yeah, Chicken Run on
Yeah.
the Witham, all them sort of things. Timberland, Lane End, and yeah, it was mad, mate. And I drew Red Barn, and I think I'd gone with Don that day, and he drew higher up in the 600s. He didn't really fancy that. Anyway, I thought, well, we'd been catching on this method we'd learnt off Rotherham Raiders.
What was the method? Can you tell us?
Yeah, it was just waggler fishing about a third of the way across. Dead simple. Bodied waggler, 2 swan round the float, little, probably a bulker lead like 4 number 4s, a number 6 and a number 8 strung out below it, about 8 foot deep. Just feeding ground bait with loads and loads of bronze squats in.
Bronze squats?
Bronze squats, yeah. And
you don't get them nowadays?
I used to dye them myself.
Wow.
And then bronze maggots on, loose feed bronze maggots over the top. Not something you'd associate with bream fishing.
No.
But these Rotherham lads, Jack Pugh, Charlie Axon and Frank, can't remember his name, but they was catching a lot of fish. We first come across them on the Coronation Channel Champs. Jack Pugh won the match for 50 odd pound. Me and Don couldn't catch up, so we had a walk and watched him. We sort of looked at each other and thought we could do that a bit better than that. He was a bit cruder, you know what I mean? So we started doing it, and we had a fantastic run. And this particular day, on this Red Barn stretch, peg 270, gin clear, wind off us back, bright sunshine. It didn't look very appetising, and I walked straight across because I wasn't quite sure where the pegs were, and I was upstream, and I walked upstream about 6 or 8 pegs, and nobody had got a waggler set up. They'd all got either swing tip up or bomb rod of some description. I thought, right, I'm gonna have it to myself, like, and the conditions were right. There was a slight draw on it, gin clear. There were no colour in it, and I set off on waggler, chucking a ball like every other chuck, even though I wasn't getting any bites, and feeding quite a lot of maggots over the top. And like after 45 minutes, I hadn't seen a fish top or anybody catch a fish or anything. I thought, this is going, and all of a sudden I've gone in, and you used to have a slight draw on it, and I've gone about a yard, and my float's lifted up like half an inch and stopped there for a split second, then gone, and I missed it, and I thought that was a bite or a line.
Love how you can remember how the bite was.
I can remember a lot of things of some matches, and somebody will say, "Can you remember that?" And I say, "No, I can't remember that." I don't know why. Is it because of anyway?
I'm there. I'm there running the float down when you're saying
anyway,
it. It's brilliant.
I come back and I thought, well, that might have been a bit of a liner, but at least there's something starting to happen. And then about 10 minutes later, I've gone in again, and it's only gone a foot, and it's just buried, and I've struck skimmer. And all these skimmers at the time were silver, and there was all about £1.6 to £1.10 everywhere along the river. There was a few people catching them, like, but we were catching more than anybody. And I caught 4 or 5. Nobody had had a bite on tip round me. There was chucking in the middle then, because I seen where I was catching, and it was just like you fished just short of middle everywhere. They were there for some reason, and I caught 4 or 5 in the next sort of hour and a half. Might have had a couple of little roach with them as well. And then the middle of the match went not so good. I couldn't get a bite. I'm not getting any indication, but I kept going because nobody was catching anything. And then it was amazing. Like an hour and a half to go, the wind changed slightly. The wind got up and it changed slightly. Instead of blowing off my shoulder that way, it blew off my shoulder this way. And when I cast in, because the wind was changed, I cast in about a yard above where I'd been casting in.
Right.
Throwing my ground baits obviously slightly downstream. So I'm running onto my ground bait now. And now it's gone in, it's just buried. And I've picked up skimmer. Couldn't catch another one. Went back to where I was feeding, nothing. Anyway, never done it before, never done it since. Squats you used to get, you've probably seen it. Used to get some little rough white maggots in them in squats.
Yeah.
They looked horrible. They would never die. If you put loads of chrysalid on, they'd still be white. Don't know what they were. Everybody says they were pinkies, but I don't think there was, because pinkies die. And I just got 2 of these little white maggots, chucked it in. I tried squats on the hook, bronze squats, chucked it in. Went a yard again, went under, but I was chucking upstream in my ground bait. Anyway, I caught probably 8 on these, 8 in 8 chucks on these white maggots.
What, just picking them out of your squats?
Yeah, there weren't many in there, just picking them out of my squats. Never caught on again. I did catch a couple on bronze maggots later. And I ended up with 19 skimmers and 2 roach, weighed £29 odd, and won the Tetler.
Amazing.
800 and odd pegs.
When did you realise you'd won it? Because it must be a long process between weighing in and...
It is a long process, but I knew I'd won it. But you never got paid out anything after the match. You had to go to a pub where they were doing the presentation in Sheffield, and then you go up and collect your trophy and you check. I mean, it was like 1,700 quid I finally won off that.
That must have been a lot of money then, Wayne, wasn't it?
Massive, mate, yeah.
Wow.
If you'd have thought about it in the 70s, you could have bought an house nearly with that.
Yeah, that's crackers, isn't it?
Yeah, crackers.
So you used to go to a pub in Sheffield on a different day?
Yeah,
a presentation?
Yeah, it'd be a midweek day on an evening.
Wow.
Yeah, and used to go there, and we all used to go, loads of us, you know what I mean? And it was a good night. You know?
That must have been a right feat winning that, the
Yeah, it was
Tetleys.
fantastic, mate.
Because you hear people talk about it
Yeah.
now, the Tetleys,
Yeah.
Stonesers.
That year, Don framed in the match that year. Up
Don
in the six,
Slaymaker.
yeah, he had about £16 up in the 600, fishing the same, skimmers.
mm.
And then later on, Don won the Wards, which was a brewery match.
Yeah.
Later on that season, a couple of 3 weeks later, he won the Wards doing it. And I was fourth in the Wards that day.
Out of 800 again.
Yeah, out of 800 again. And then probably a week or two later, we fished the Chesterfield Open on the Welland again, 300 pegs, and I won that with 30 odd pound on
Won the
Wagler.
match?
Yeah, I won the match again, 30 odd pound of skimmers. Yeah.
It's amazing. Did
Yeah.
people used to recognise you for winning? Like, I know you don't like blowing your own trumpet, but like to frame and win and be that consistent in that big a match, did people used to be like, that's Swinscoe, that's Don, and they knew you'd got a method.
Yeah. Them Rotherham lads were still catching as well, but they was a bit cruder at it, to be honest. But one or two people picked up on it, but most of them, because there were brewery matches and there was like loads and loads of club anglers that just wanted a day out,
Yeah.
you know, they didn't pick up on it.
So you had it to yourself.
You had it to probably 20 people.
I
you
just
know.
can't get my head around an 800 peg match.
It's amazing, isn't
It's
it?
just like fried my brain.
Even the Nationals on his 500 pegs now, isn't
If
it?
that.
Yeah.
If that.
800 peg to win that is mega.
Oh,
though.
there was
It's
there was a lot of big matches, but as I was saying, there wasn't many of them. You know what I mean? Everybody used to come because there weren't many matches on. We used to get people from Birmingham and all that way, as well as South Yorkshire.
So proper
and that.
travel around for them.
Oh yeah.
You used to get coaches go from
Mad, isn't it?
cities
Yeah,
to
there'd
drop anglers
be
off.
like the Tetley. There'd be so and so pub in Sheffield. There'd be 20 from that pub on the coach.
Did you all get there? How'd you get the kit on the coach as well?
Well, the thing was, most of the time, the beer went on the coach first. You'd hear the crates clanking in the back. There was
Priorities.
nothing on the back seat apart from beer. On the
Really?
Yeah. Club matches are the same. When I used to go club matches, I used to get on the coach at like 6:30 in the morning, and like the people that ran it, there'd all be crates of beer on the back.
Fair play.
You'd be straight to the back seats, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it was like, but you got no kit like you'd got now. You'd got an old. That was it. What you showed on that photo. Everything was in your box. Your keep net was on top because it was probably wet from the week before.
Yeah,
All your
yeah.
tackle was in your basket, and your bait was in your basket. Your landing net was in your basket. All your floats and everything.
What about rods, Wayne? Obviously,
Just 2 rods. I used to take 2 rods.
that's all you had.
Yeah, aluminium landing net pole, a rod rest. That was it.
But
You could walk for miles, mate.
But the same concepts that are still important now was the things that gave you the edge then as well.
Yeah.
Feeding, presentation.
That's all it's about, mate.
You ever have a secret ground bait or anything like that?
No. The only ground bait you could buy was white and brown.
Crumb?
White cum and brown cum.
That's crackers, isn't it?
And you caught loads.
And
I
you
reckon now, if you should still use that,
Yeah.
because like how you wanted to mix it, you wanted to, say you wanted it stiff, you didn't put so much brown in. If you wanted it to break up pretty quick, you put loads of brown in.
So the white was more of a binder.
Yeah.
Brown was the fluffier one.
Well, you've mixed up punch cum and things like that,
Yeah.
and you've put too much water in. Yeah, it's just like, and that was the same thing. You just had to mix it.
Wow.
You always mixed it on the bank, and you just took your time mixing it. There were no riddles.
What's what sort of terminal gear did you use back then on them? Did you
It
use to
was
fish light or
1.7 all the time.
right? £1.7 upland.
Yeah, Bayer.
Right.
1.7. It was 0.12. So it's crap breaking strain for 0.12, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but I bet it still.
Oh yeah,
tough,
yeah. And
wasn't
I
it?
used to use a 20-90340 on the Welland, a little barbless hook.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 bronze maggots on or a couple of 3 squats on, but never really caught much on squats. But you got an odd one on it.
But you thought they were important in your ground bait.
Yeah,
How important were bronze squats?
don't know, but I tell you what, it used to do. It used to send your ground bait a lovely golden colour. Yeah,
Maybe it was that then.
maybe it was.
You know what's going to happen this winter now on alt drains? Everyone's going to have bronze squats after listening to this.
Well, a lot of people used to fish with bronze pinkies and things like that. They always used to think they had an edge, but I always thought fluorescent pinkies were better.
Right.
You know, they even at one stage, for a spell on the drains, they used to dye the squats fluorescent, but they were never very good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting. On the river topic then, Welland sounds amazing. We should go and have a day's fishing on there.
Yeah, we'll have to find somewhere to fish though with no weed.
What's it like now?
It's just weedy, mate. Gin clear weedy. But I know Steve Hemingway's been a couple of times.
Yes, he went with Bubble, didn't he?
Yeah, they did. And they found a bit, I think they went and took some bomb rods, found a bit where there were no weed, and put a bit of bait in, caught loads.
Do you think the fish are still there now,
There's
Wayne?
millions of fish in it, mate. I have fished the Ivan Marks on it, Memorial, and it was just horrific with weed. And then
Did you catch?
No, we never had a fish.
Oh, no.
And I could have caught them in the edge, but there was odd bream in that, you know. And then we had a Bourne League on it when Spolt used to run the Bourne League, and there was quite a few fish caught on that. But there were millions of fry in it. Where I was in low 400s, and there was weed blowing about all over the top. It was like it, but there was bream topping everywhere all day. Big uns. Couldn't feed her it. Float fish, you couldn't float fish. Wind was coming, and all this weed was just everywhere. But there was millions of them. They were catching 2 and 3 pound of them. You could see millions of fry.
Yeah,
There were loads of fish in it still.
Interesting. We'll have to go. I might get Tank to go. That'd make a good vlog.
Yeah.
Like just go
It
and
would be
fish.
good, that.
Go and
Yeah,
fish
yeah,
some of the
yeah.
old stomping grounds
Yeah.
and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Could have you on as a guest. Come
Well,
on.
I never know.
Come and show us what to do.
Yeah, anyway, you can't. I don't think you could ever do that anymore. They do catch a lot of fish around 4 Mile Bar Bridge and
Do they?
Crowland Bridge, Roach. Yeah,
You know the town Welland where you fish in winter, the little one. I've
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah.
Only ever went on a couple of matches. Are them fish that we catch in there in the winter? Do they come out of the big river? So all them millions of roach, they live in the main river.
Yeah. Come out there, mate. Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
I've been town well, and I've seen it in the summer when we used to go on that, and there's still another person fishes it, but it's full of weed, bank to bank weed, just holes in it. And they catch tench and bream in it, but you never see any bream caught in winter. They move out, and I think the ideal conditions for it was you needed loads of rain in the end of October, November to get the big well and bank high.
Right.
And it used to push him in then.
Right, got you.
And then because it was chocolate, they used to stop in and the colour used to drop out. And when it went that greeny brown colour that we'd always talk about, it was fantastic fishing. But them last 2 matches when I went and seen you on there, I've never known it fish that well with them £50. Well,
No.
I broke the record a long while ago with £53 on bread.
That's
And
ridiculous.
they was all small fish. I had 400 odd fish.
Wow.
But we hadn't fished it for about 4 years, and we was going. I think that our match was on the Glen, and it was right up. And Spolt says, "You fancy going it on the Welland?" This was the Friday night as we fished it on the Sunday. I said, "Well, what else are you going to do?" I said, "If it's bank high, we ain't going to catch out on the Glen. You can't fish it." He says, "Well, take a chance." And we arrived there. I think I don't know if he pegged it out, somebody else pegged it out. We arrived there. I've never seen it so low. I could see the mud below the wall on the other bank. It was about 2.5 foot deep in the middle.
On the town Welland, in the little river.
In the little river. You come down the bank, you could get all your kit round you, and I couldn't touch the bank behind me. I sat on the stones.
Wow.
Never seen it so low. Never seen a fish top. And I put my Gav Butler didn't fish the match. He was walking about.
Yeah.
And I put my plummet on, plumbed up, and I left it, and all of a sudden my float went like that. And again, I
No.
thought, this is solid. And we started, I put 1 ball of bread in Tuan. Tuan was like just short of middle. He didn't want to go any further because it was coming up. And it was a bite every chuck in.
On bread?
On bread. Bread was always the best bait.
Wow.
And there was all peas in a pod. I netted 2 fish and I just lifted the rest. There was all like 2 ounce, 3 ounce. And you could go in and your float would go under, and your float would just be swimming with the roach on, like, and you pick up, there's one on. You could leave it and your float never come back up. Never known out like that before.
Just so confident
Just
and solid.
ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And there was 30s and 40s all over the place.
£30 a route, £40 a route.
£53 I weighed.
Won the match.
Won the match, yeah.
And that were a new record.
That was a new record then.
Wow. What were the biggest weight you ever heard of on the big Welland back in the day, Wayne?
50, 60 pound.
Right.
Can't think.
Never caught £100.
No. They might have done, mate, but I never.
Right.
The bream were big enough. They were massive.
Mm.
You know, when the bream was on, before it went skimmer, there were 6 and 7 pounders a lot of the time.
Amazing.
Big fish, yeah.
We'll go. We're going to go and have a day, definite. I don't want to talk too much about the Welland because I know how many rivers you fish. I've got a lot of questions for you. Tell me a little bit about your winter fishing, because you said the Welland were more summery and the fens, and then in the winter you used to fish the Trent, which is weird because nowadays the Trent's a summer river.
Yeah, it's completely turned around, mate. The biggest thing on the Trent was power stations. And after the miners' strike and all that, a lot of the pits shut, so a lot of the power stations closed down. The one in Nottingham closed down. There were loads on the Trent Valley, as you know. There's still an odd one left, but there was loads. You could see all the cooling towers when you drove down and everything. And obviously, the water started to chill then.
Right.
So that's when it became good. Now, I can always remember 1974, I hardly ever seen a chub caught. If somebody caught a chub in a match, you went and looked at it because you'd never seen one on Trent before.
Really?
Really. There was a few at Clifton Grove. I caught one once when I was about same age, 16, 17, in a match, not singles match at Beeston, £14, and I couldn't believe it when I caught one. I never used to see a perch. Gudgeon, loads of gudgeon and roach. And
so what did you catch then? Gudgeon, roach?
Gudgeon, roach. There's a few dace in the shallower bits. That was it.
That's weird. It's so different to now. No bream or pommies or skimmers or anything like that.
No, they come later, mate. This time I'm saying 74. It suddenly changed. It was getting clearer. It was getting cooler, which was the most. And all of a sudden we turned up. I noticed it on. We used to have a Monday night match at Beeston, £1 a man, 1974, just 2-3 hour match. Then we always used to go back to the pub and have a pint. Warren used to fish, Pete Brough, Frank, Don, and
Frank Barlow, Don Slaymaker.
Yeah. But it was crap. You'd catch £3, you know.
Right.
And then 74, we turned up and there was millions of chub in the river like that. Millions.
And you'd not seen them before?
No, never seen them before. And that's all you were catching. It was a nightmare. There were just all these. The gudgeon were miles bigger.
Wow.
And then a bit later on in the year, September, I went up to fish the Tom Draper Memorial at Shardlow, another big match, 250 pegs and that. And I drew White House Bend, just below the White House Bend, and I just fished a stick float off my rod end with caster, and I caught £17, which was millions of these little chub like that. But my main fish were big black gudgeon.
Ah.
Yeah, and I caught £17 odd and won the match. And ever since then, there was chub for probably 10 years.
What, as if like that hot summer bred them little ones?
Well,
and
76 with the hot summer. They're coming 74. There must have been the year before. Must have been 73 for some reason. I don't know why, but they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then and then they just went. But everything changed then. We started to get loads of gusters. We'd never seen them before. Where they come from?
Tell me about gusters, right? Because some people call them gusters.
They are actually silver bream.
Silver bream, hybrids, pommies.
Yeah,
they've got all
hybrids.
these names.
Yeah, they're not hybrids.
Tell people listening what these fish are.
They are silver bream.
And they're like a silver.
The silver, when they get big, they get a little bit of a blue sheen on the shoulders.
Yeah.
And that. The eyes are massive.
Yeah.
That's why I think the night feeders most of the time. And they've got pink fins.
Quite big scales.
Big scales. They grow up to £2, but most of the time they're like 6, 8, 10 ounce sort of thing. Smaller. But Marsh and them places in the Weirfield, you used to catch them all the time, £1 plus, you know. And they were there for years. Gone. Middle Trent, Upper Trent, virtually don't see one anymore.
I can honestly say.
Tidal, there's loads in there when the conditions are right. When it's coloured. That's why I think the same thing. Burton Joyce used to be a lot of Burton Joyce. When you used to fish, you used to catch loads of little ones like that, and then when it coloured up, you used to catch proper ones.
Evesham same. When it goes coloured,
ridiculous, mate. How many's in there, and you don't catch one when it's clear. As soon as it colours up, they're feeding.
Do you think that they're still in the Middle Trent, or do you think they're not there now?
No, I think there's an odd one because I caught one at Pierpoint a couple of years ago, about 6 or 8, 10 ounce. It was a proper pommer. You can tell them they don't look nothing like hybrids.
No,
nothing like.
That's crazy. I've never caught one in Middle Trent, and I've fished it for 10, 12 years.
Yeah, but you've caught loads in the Tidal.
Loads and loads.
And the proper ones in there when they feed as well. I mean, the bites are savage, aren't they?
Torksey and...
Torksey and that, yeah.
Where did you do that video? A bit further down from Torksey?
Littleborough.
Littleborough. That looked good fishing, that.
Mate, unbelievable that was.
Yeah.
We went there and it's hard to get down the banks there. It's nothing like... Well, it's like Torksey, but with no steps. So how would you go on?
Roll down.
Death-defying,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah.
I'm a bit... When I set my platform up and everything on the tidal, I'm always a bit worried because one slip
Yeah.
and he'd probably be gone, mate.
Dangerous, isn't it?
Oh,
It's dangerous.
It is dangerous.
But exciting at the same time.
The fishing, when they're on and it's coloured, the fishing's fantastic. You know.
The bites.
bites.
If anyone wants to watch a bit of...
I've seen your video on it.
Yeah, if you want to watch Swinscoe on the tidal, it's on the Drennan YouTube page, and it's a cracking video catching a load of them gusters, pommies.
It was all gusters, mate. I had an odd roach, an odd perch, an odd eel. Do you know what the best bait was by far?
Go on.
Corn.
Sweet corn.
Sweet corn.
Crackers.
I bought every chucking on corn. I've had 3 tins of corn in my ground bait.
Never.
Yeah.
Absolutely
And it was
mental.
hitting the bottom and just going like that. And there weren't big ones, actually. There was like 4 to 8 ounce. And none of them, never caught none of them pounders that you catch it when they're on at Torksey. You know, you catch the right big ones, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
But
Another place to go and have a go at that. That's on Ashfield's water, isn't it, Littleborough?
Ashfield's water, yeah.
Right. Let's throw it back to Trent when you started fishing it and the chub explosion. What were the crack in the matches then? How did you... Because you dominated then. You won a lot of matches. You did really well. It led into, you know, the big team fishing that you did. But what tactically and baits and methods, how did you used to fish the Trent then?
It all changed for me because it was all casters when I started. All casters. Pete Warren was my hero. He was the unbelievable, mate, how many matches he won on casters.
What made him so good, Wayne?
Just his feeding, how he fished. He's marvellous on a stick float. Brilliant on a stick float and downstream wind. You just watched him and you thought, that's going through brilliant.
How did he do it better than everyone else?
I don't know, he just did it. He didn't look any different. And he didn't feed heavy at all. He was just really accurate with his feeding. And he used to feed tiny little bits of white ground bait. We used to call it bird muck. You'd chuck it in, it just looked like a bit of bird muck at its surface.
Honestly?
Yeah, don't ask me if it did out, but he did it religiously. So he must have been doing something. And he just caught loads, mate. Whether he was at Higgin or Burton, anywhere on Trent, he was just good. Dunham, he was just good.
Always on a stick float?
Mostly on a stick float. He used to have some little... When the wind was really bad, he used to have some little wagglers like that. The top of peacock quill. The bit you never use.
Top of a peacock? Really?
Yeah. The top of a peacock quill with a little eye in the bottom. And he used to fish them. I've seen him fish them at Burton Joyce Ferryfield, and he won the match. You know.
What's that for? So he can get his line down a bit?
Yeah, he just, you know, I don't know. He just made it work, mate. And nobody else had him or anything like that. Johnny Moult, he was brilliant. And his favourite float was a porcupine cut off at the bottom with a cotter pin in it.
A what pin?
Cotter pin. You know, like you used to put in when you put your bike wheels on.
Yeah.
You used to put a cotter pin in and bend them back so the wheel won't come out.
No.
It was like a pin like that split, and that was his float.
Crackers.
And he lost it one day, and I tell you what, he walked the whole length of Nelson Field and Rack to try and find it.
Did he get it back?
No. No, he didn't. He was nearly crying. And, and it was all casters then. And I was sort of like feeling my way and everything like that. And like 74, I was 20 then. And I was still fishing casters, and casters was all right. Warren was still winning. And then these chubs started to get bigger, like 2 or 3 years later. We was catching them in a lot of areas where we ain't catching them. It was like pound and a half, sort of, 12 ounce, them sort of things. And Dave Thomas come, and I was a caster and a Warren fan. Dave Thomas come, and he was catching some on maggots. Warren was catching on casters. And I used to think, now I'll stick with casters. Warren's a master, you know what I mean? And anyway, they drew next to each other in the Ferryfield, and I was like, come on, Pete. And Dave beat me a couple of pounds.
No.
And I come back to the pub and I said, that's me done. I'm fishing maggots. And that's when really started to catch a lot of chub then. That started the late 70s, early 80s. There's a lot of chub in the river, as well as roach, but it was all about feeding. Feeding loads of maggots.
How many? How many's loads?
Gallons sometimes.
Really?
Yeah. But even catching roach was feeding loads.
Right.
But I don't believe they was eating them all. Because sometimes you caught, like, off the bottom, mid-water. But you had to keep feeding to keep them there. You know what I mean? And just basically presenting like double maggot was a massive thing in them days. Massive. On a little tiny hook.
What do you call a tiny hook?
24.
Never.
I was never on it for a bit, and then Steve Clark, Trentman lad.
Clark, you fishes all craft.
Oh yeah, he was pretty good at catching chub, and he says you're fishing too big hooks, and I was still on a 20 and a 20. He said you want 24, and I said, I turned away and again it the old righto. But I tried it, and it made it looked terrific.
2 maggots on a 24?
2 maggots on a 90340 24, and there was a tiny hook.
That doesn't make any sense, does it?
You never lost them, mate. You lost some roach, but you never lost a chub.
Wow.
1.7 bottom, then it would drop down to like a 12-ounce bottom in the end to catch these chub.
Right.
And yeah, it happened all over the place. I mean, I can remember going on the Thames and the Swindon lad says, you'll never catch anything on maggots here. And we went and we just cleaned up.
What, hammering maggots in?
Just putting bronze maggots in.
Did you only used to use bronze?
Yeah, bronze. Yeah, never used to use any red maggots. Never. I had a bit of a go with white maggots. I've been on the Thames Championship and they banned bronze maggots. Right. And I caught to about £25 and framed on the Thames Championship. I took them back to Burton Joyce in the winter. Thought I'm going to try white maggots, and I drew between Mel Talbot and Keith Obbo.
Yeah.
And I had £11 Augustas and little roach, and they both had 20 odd pound of big roach and chub. The white maggots went in the bin, mate, never to come out again.
Why do you think roach and chub like bronze maggots so much?
Don't know. They all used to put turmeric on them, and I don't know, mate.
You used to put turmeric on yours?
Yeah. But sometimes I didn't. But
think it made a difference?
Don't know.
Used to do it.
Don't do it anymore.
Right, interesting.
Yeah, but they used to like. I don't know why they used to like bronze maggots, but they did.
I want to ask you, because this is always a debate that I still sometimes have, but like, when is it waggler and when is it stick flow, and what makes you choose them methods?
Flow, wind, whereabouts you are on the river, experience from years ago. I mean, stick float now has virtually been superseded with pole fishing. You can do everything now with a pole virtually. I mean, the fish longish lines, don't they, now when they need to, and the way the fish feed on the river now, it's totally different to how it was years ago.
Why do you think that is, Wayne?
I think it's because it's clear. I think they come straight to your bait, off the bottom, right under where you're feeding. Don't get me wrong, there were some days when it was like that, but a lot of the time you caught right down the end of your peg. I mean, the pegging were never brilliant, early on. And like when I pegged Riverfest Day, you never got anything like that. It was 21 pegs. Burton Joyce, 21 paces, that was all it was.
I think we've got a picture, Toe, Burton Joyce, I think it is, of the pegging, and I had a look at it earlier. It is so close.
Yeah, it is.
Looks so close.
Yeah, it is, mate. It was. But that was the longest pegging on the river, virtually.
Really?
I mean, you went to Caythorpe, it was like 14 or 15 yards.
That's the one.
Yeah, you think that's close, mate. That were good.
Like, look how close the next angler is above you.
Yeah.
That's you there. Look at your gear there, Wayne.
Yeah, mate. Horrific, innit?
Wicker basket.
Yeah, that was it.
Was that a match?
Yeah, that was a match. That was a Saturday match at Burton Joyce.
Can you remember what you caught?
It could be a fed, but £9 odd.
Roach,
yeah.
Well, so that's Burton Joyce.
Yeah. That is all trees now. All trees. You can't. That's the bottom of the road stretch there. Look, where them cars are parked.
Ah, wow.
There's a fence there now. That is about where you drew in the qualifier.
That
where
is
them bream are.
frightening.
Yeah.
Looks so different.
Yeah. Where them trees are there were none of them. It was just a straight bank all the way through.
Can you see just below them trees, Tobe?
So right here.
No, other way.
Other way.
The bit in between. Next to it there. Like, that's just a bit there. That's where that picture is. None of them trees are there now.
No, that picture isn't there. That picture is in the middle of them trees.
Wow. So you were just up that bank
them
there?
trees,
closer this way. Closer.
In the middle of them trees, that picture is. That's the stream that
frightening.
runs in.
Wow.
You
And
can't believe it's same place.
And where them trees are, all that area of trees was never there. It was just straight bank all the way through. And they've only grown since they put a fence up.
Right.
Because the cars
Amazing.
don't get it. The cars keep everything. Look at Shelford, they're into cheer on it because they've got sheep all the time in there.
Absolutely crackers.
Amazing how things change. All them bushes on the road stretch that you can see there, where the arrow is there. There was only one bush ever on the road stretch, 246 peg. It was a little bush, and there was a concrete slab in the water. And if you drew that when it was up, if you knew about it, and just laid on the concrete slab behind the bush, it was solid with roach.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen Roy Tolson win there with £16. Next weight in the match were about £3 because it was chocolate brown. He just fished on that concrete slab where it was clean.
Absolutely. So when people are complaining on Riverfest that pegging's close, we should show them that picture.
The pegging's unbelievable. You'd get 3 pegs to what you get on Riverfest.
You get 3 people in.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you won't catch out now if you pegged it like that.
No.
Somebody would get a few, obviously, but it's too clear, mate. They've just back off.
What would you say your biggest edges were on Waggler, Wayne? Because I know a lot of people talk to me about, I watch Wayne fish a Waggler, and I've seen you catch weights of fish on the Trent on Waggler when no one else can catch on it. Have you got any secrets? Have you got anything special that you do on it?
No, I just used to fish it light down the line, but not light in shot size, really. I never made like 11s and 10s or anything like that work. It was always, say it was like 8 foot, 9 foot deep, which most of it is out on Waggler, even deeper. I always used to fish like 3 8s and a 9 strung out. And the nearest shot would probably be nearly 2 foot from the hook some days.
So you're fishing on the drop?
Fishing on the drop, but over depth. You know, sometimes when I got them on the drop, I'd actually fish sort of another foot of depth on, so you got a slower drop, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it was where you put your float, really. I mean, Jimmy Meekin, were brilliant at it. Used to feed down your peg and cast your Waggler down your peg. And
so downstream?
Downstream,
Most people fire it up,
yeah,
don't
they
they?
do. Well, all your fish go up. Seen it, I've done it. I've took fish off people that's firing upstream. It's all right to start with, because the fish aren't up there. But once I've got a few maggots coming through all the time, and also little and often, but not little and often, loads and often. You know what I mean? And that it used to dominate the area. You know, and I always think when you cast straight in front of you or slightly upstream, your float's in action all the time. It's going with the flow and pulling your bait. But when you chuck it downstream and straighten it out, your float's this side of your bait.
Yes.
It's gone like that, and because it's still flowing, but there's no tightness on your bait or hook. It's just dropping down natural, and you get that 10-second period where it's more natural than if the float's pulling onto it.
I've got you. If you chuck it in front of you,
Yeah,
the
your
float's
float's working straight away.
Yeah.
Whereas you chuck it downstream and straighten it out, your float's not doing anything till it catches up with your bait.
Yeah, your bait's ahead of your float.
Correct. Yeah, and for that 10-second period before it does it, I think that's the killing spot.
So so even though your peg might be 30 metres long, you're finding the position to cast in to get...
The wind's going to be 9 times out of 10 crap, so you've got to cast it down there anyway. You don't want to feed up there, or even if it's deep, you don't want to feed up there because the fish come straight up. You've got to have the confidence the fish are going to come.
Yeah.
Might be, an hour, but they're going to come under that bait.
Yeah.
And that's why poles are good now, because you can feed you can ball it, which helps, and the fish come straight to you now because they can see everything. Years ago it was black inky colour and the fish were down your peg. They don't even think they knew where you were chucking your bait, you know what I mean? But it's all changed.
Totally different.
Totally changed. There's no chub now, is there, hardly?
No. Specimen chub, that's it.
There's a lot. There is more chub than people think. They're really big, though.
Do you think we'll ever see another explosion of chub?
I think we might see some this year.
Really? Soon as that?
Yeah, because you've seen that video I did at Shelford where I caught 18, 20 pound of like 10, 12 ounce chub, and I think if they survive through the cormorant era, I think we might see a lot next year. in areas, not everywhere.
How much do you think predators affect the Trent, Wayne? Because obviously we see a lot, we talk about cormorants a lot. You just mentioned it then. Does it affect it?
I just can't get my head round it, like at Burton Joyce, how many cormorants are on the river and how many fish are there.
Mm.
And the ones you catch, we don't get any that's got spikes marks in them or anything like that. I just think there's a colossal amount of fish at Burton Joyce.
Mm.
It always was, for Middle Trent, it always was the best bit.
Mm.
Whether it's got anything to do with the outfall or anything like that, or I don't know, or the trap between the two weirs, I don't know, but it was always, when it was the Mecca, it was always that area, Shelford, Burton Joyce, you know. There's loads of fish at Caith, there's loads of fish all over, but that area, I don't know, it gets mullered, doesn't it? There's loads of pike, loads of big perch in it. The fry ain't really got a chance, really, but obviously there's millions of fish there because they're producing loads of fry all the year and they're growing on. I think we'll see a little bit of a demise in dace. It's been happening the last couple of years, really. There don't seem to be so many dace as there was, or we can't catch them, you know.
Interesting. What about big fish in the river, Wayne? Like now you must see specimen anglers, barbel, carp, some weird species. Were they ever there back then?
There was a few barbel started to show late on at Burton Joyce in the Saturday matches, but it had to be coloured, really, and in the bay at top of Nelson Field where you catch the bream, you used to catch a few barbel there.
Right.
You used to catch them outside Nelson Pub. There was a peg on the rack, 141, which I've never seen any caught there, but they had a few years where they were catching smaller ones there. There was a few starting to show when it started, like I say, when the water started to change in the power stations. There was a few started to come in. There's obviously been a few there, but I can't think of me catching any.
Right.
You know, and they have stocked them a lot the last quite a few years. They put loads in, like these small ones.
They've obviously done well in the river because they're everywhere.
Mate. They love it. Pellets and everything. They've made them ginormous. The bream, you've seen the bream at Burton Joyce. They're absolutely massive.
Oh, must be some double figure ones.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. There's loads of them as well. There's a massive amount of big fish now at Burton Joyce.
One question I really want to ask you,
and
this gets mentioned on podcast and in any rivery conversations we have about the Trent and that. Obviously, a lot of people talk about the golden days of the Trent and whether it's better then or better now. Like, you've been there through all of that and you still fish the river a lot now. How is it now compared to the bunny-eared golden days?
It's good. It's probably, in some areas, it's definitely better. But there is no pressure on the river at all like there used to be. So it's hard to gauge. You know, you know yourself, Burton Joyce is solid. Stoke barred off, it's solid with fish. But how many matches are on it? Handful. There's no matches anymore at Shelford. Maybe an odd club match.
Shelford, the other bank.
Other bank. That's why it's a good thing. It's like Caithorpe's all right. No matches. Never been any matches on the other bank there. But the Upper Trent isn't so good as it was. Nowhere near. It's still all right. But the Upper Trent used to be full of roach and chub and dace, and there's some stretches where they're starting to open them up a bit. Ingleby, Cuttlebrook, they're catching more there, but there's been no pressure on it. When it's had 2 or 3 years of matches, I think it'll start to decline. But the tidal is far better than it used to be. Right. Massively better.
Didn't used to be good fishing on there.
Terrible, mate.
Really?
Used to go to Dunham. There were 250 peggers at Dunham, Doncaster matches, and like the odd times. I can remember Roy Duckett winning one with about £20 a roach. There were no bream caught then in them days, and like, I mean, I won my first big match there in '74, Doncaster Hospital Cup, and I won it with £7 odd.
And how many's in that?
200 odd.
Never.
Yeah, and the pegging there was horrifically tight.
£7 odd to win a 200 pegger.
My wife Carolyn, who was my girlfriend then, sat behind me. My casters were rubbish. She sat behind me and picked all my black fly casters out and kept passing me for some casters.
Honestly?
Yeah.
And that's when you knew you'd got a good one.
Yeah, that's when I got a keeper, mate. Yeah, and she's come with me a lot actually, but it's. I mean, you've seen it when the tidal fishes, when the skimmers and the hybrids go. It's unbelievable.
Well, I'm not being funny. £7 now on the tidal. You ain't winning a penny.
You're not winning anything.
Never, and that's
you're chucking back on a lot of it.
Yeah, you catch £7. You've had a horrendous day.
Yeah.
What's this book all about next year here?
That was just a diary I used to keep of all me
Let's have a look.
winnings in me earlier days.
When does it start that way? Because that'll give us a good gauge of it.
It started in 1974-75 when I started to catch a few fish. And you can look at the weights, mate, and what we caught, and they're nothing like what we catch now. But there was massive pressure on the river. There was matches like, I'm not lying now, but between Long Eaton and Newark, you'd hardly get a peg on a weekend.
Honestly,
both banks.
Most of that's overgrown now.
Yeah, well, that's a big problem. The pegging matches now. You can't, like Eynde now, there was 100 odd pegs at Eynde. You won't be able to get 10 people in now, probably. We had to pack up the Frank Barlow because it was all overgrown. I could never peg it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I have a look at book?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
So this, folks, it's been sat next to Wayne while I've been...
Give me that sheet.
Go on then. Was that all women's phone numbers on from?
I wish.
Let's have a look.
You'll get me into trouble.
We've got here 74 to 75. It's all handwritten. We've got placing, section placing, number of flipping heck. If you look at the peg numbers in the matches, 100 pegger, 65 pegger, 500, 250, 200, 250, 120, 40, 300. Like,
That's constant, massive matches, that, isn't it?
I mean, I bet you're not familiar with matches that big, are you?
No,
Tobes?
not even doing the live matches. And
300,
that, they're not like
18, 168, 300, 400, 16, like every match is
massive.
ridiculous. But for example, just to give you all, let me find a few Trent ones. So, Knots Anglers, Fur and Feather. Where would that have been, Wayne?
Shelford, all of Shelford.
So that's opposite Bank to Burton John.
Yeah.
200 pegger.
Yeah.
Knots Anglers, Fur and Feather. Wayne, first place.
Yeah.
Can you remember that match?
Tell me what the weight was, and I'll tell you if I can remember it.
£12.3.
Yeah, I was on the natural bank below Amsbridge.
£12 though to win.
A roach. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And he's even got here, look at that, Tobes, winnings from the match. So you won the 200 peg match,
Yeah.
£32.50.
Yeah.
Oh, I
yeah.
thought you meant he had the actual cash in there as well. I
Yeah.
thought we'd had that for lunch.
Yeah, £32.50. But that was I see some of the matches now in the press where there's been a cart match. They don't get £32.50.
No,
You know,
that's true, that.
that was probably only a fiver to fish.
Even here, look. So, Tom Draper Memorial match,
Yeah.
Shardlow on Trent, 250 anglers.
Yeah.
Wow.
You won it.
Yeah. I won that twice on the trot.
What, 200 odd anglers?
Yeah.
£5.3.
Yeah. But it was flooded that day.
But still,
Yeah, I know.
nowadays, someone would catch a load of bream.
Yeah, someone would catch barbel and bream and things like that.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look at. See if
That
we
was
can
all
find-
little roach, that was.
Knots Fed Open, 120 pegger.
Yeah, that was a
third,
Saturday match.
£6.5.
Yeah.
Third in
I
120.
know where that was. That was in Ferryfield, just above where I won that junior match and where you qualified with that on
For
the pole with that bream.
Riverfest.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is ridiculous, though. Trent Championship. Middleoos, Worksop and District. Welbeck Lakes.
That's a proper piece of history there,
Mate,
isn't
it's
it?
mega.
That's mad.
I'll tell you what I'm
really.
going to do, folks, for anyone listening. I'm going to get my phone in a bit and I'll do some cutaways of this. So
Let me jot down the time so I can put it in afterwards.
Yeah, people can
Keep
see.
the magic going.
Look at that. Beeston on... look at that. Let me try and find some other ones.
There's a right mix of venues though, isn't there?
Oh, ridiculous. Another
Yeah.
one, Nottingham Anglers, Fur and Feather, 5th, £17. Fish well that day, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there were days when it it was good, but it was not as consistent as it is now.
Winthorpe, Worksop and District Open, 316 pegger, and you won it with £11.
Bleak that was.
But like, it's not...
No.
You ain't winning out with £11
No,
on
but
a
I tell you
300
what,
pegger.
Crankley Point, there was a time when you had to draw there because it was full of these little fish.
Right.
And everywhere else you struggled to get a bite in 300 pegs. But the next match would be 300 there. And
Even
I
though
went
it's
up there
crap.
fish for bleak, and I fished properly for a bit and I couldn't catch anything. And these bleak were topping. There were a lot of bleak in Trent then. You don't see one now, do you?
No, none.
None. Tommy was good at it. He caught, they call him Bionic Bleak because he caught loads of
There's a picture of him, isn't there, with
Yeah.
a massive net of bleak.
Yeah.
Was that Billow Outfall?
No, that's Alan Scotthorne that won on the outfall with
Is
Blake.
it?
£38 he had, Saturday match at Burton Joyce. It was up.
Wow.
Mick Fisher was in the bay, where with that, and he was second with £28, and I was third with £24 up in the Ferryfield on straight lead. 4 chub and about 6 roach. Massive they were.
So back to the big question,
Is it better?
now than then.
The majority of the river is. I had a bit of a. I spoke to Alan about it a few years ago, and he said it's better now than it's ever been. And as
Who, Scotthorne?
Yeah, I said I don't think it is, but after fishing it and thinking about it, the weights they get now and the consistency of the fishing is a lot better.
I find that quite interesting because obviously the I hope I'm not deviating too much at the moment, but the UK rivers are in the news quite a bit at the moment, aren't they? Due to health of the rivers and there's a lot of sewage going in them, stuff like that. So I find it quite interesting and actually reassuring that for someone like yourself that's been on the rivers for years, for you to say that actually in your own experience, it's not had a, would you say, a detrimental effect to the fishing? Is that a fair thing to say?
No, it hasn't yet in the Trent.
Do you think it will?
No, I don't think it will on Trent, to be honest, because it used to be a lot more polluted and there was loads of fish in it still.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing with pollutants is that the ones you get off the land that the farmers put on.
Right. Okay. Like
I think
your
that's why
pesticides and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's why the Welland and the Witham have, which is a tragedy for fishing because they were some of the best venues for matches, and we haven't had any for donkey's years on, and they're just full of weed and gin clear and no flow. You know, we don't want loads of pollutants in the river, but I've always said that you need a bit because roach and them sort of fish love it. But some of the rivers are getting, you look in them, there's brown stuff on the bottom in the sediment, and the why they reckon's polluted. But in winter when they all gang up, there's plenty of fish in there,
Loads.
and it's not killing them, is it? Let's be right.
Of course it's not. And not being funny either, I fish a lot in Europe.
Yeah.
And on them big rivers and canals and places we fish, there's literally open sewers pumping crap into the rivers. And they're absolutely full of fish. It's almost like, you know, especially natural waste actually
almost gets them,
breeds organisms
it's
in the
interesting
water.
that, isn't it? Really.
I was telling Matt the other day that when we used to get to Burton Joyce, the foam on the river used to be that thick.
Wow.
Well, like 2 foot.
Below the outfall. We used to fish 2 stick floats, one on top of the other. So you could, honestly.
How did you used to do that?
I used to do it, just put 2 on and shot one up, and the other one just sit there.
What, just stuck out at top of foam?
Yeah, only about that much, just to get it right.
Like fishing in a big ice cream.
Yeah, but it used to just go in and you used to catch gudgeon and roach and that. You couldn't do anything else. You couldn't see you float it with that thick. And when it was windy, you used to get these great big balls of foam coming down. It come and hit you at the side of the head and keep going. Yeah, it was unbelievable, mate. And it's got that smell about it. I haven't smelt that smell for donkey's years, and I went and fished about 10 years ago on the Air, and we drew at this pub, and I dropped off at this bridge, and as soon as I opened the car, I could smell that smell. And I thought, and it fished well, the river did, and I thought, I haven't smelt that for years.
Wow.
You know? It's a funny smell. It's like I don't know.
Like a bad good smell.
It's not a bad smell.
I like it.
It's like a sweet smell.
Right.
You know, it's
There'll
like...
be people listening and go, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I can't describe it, but I know it.
Almost like yeast.
Yeah. It was it was there. It was in the river, and I've not heard it, smelt it for years.
Interesting, very interesting. I want to ask this question. What's the most memorable match for you on the River Trent? Have you got one that sticks out in your mind as like the most memorable?
I've had a lot, mate, but I can't really think. But the one that was most incredible, really, was I was at Home Marsh. I hadn't drawn in the Weirfield. I was on the bays, and the pegging was horrendous. It was about 14 yards there. It was terrible, mate.
14 yards.
This was probably, I don't know, it had been that book, mid-80s. And I got a bloke on the feeder below me, and he'd got a yellow sou'wester on.
What's one of them?
Like one of them, the trawler men wear.
What,
bright
like a
yellow.
high-vis jacket?
Yeah, bright yellow on. Yeah, with a hood on, and he sat on his box, and his keep net was about 2 yards out in the river to get in. He sat on the bank. It was all gravel. You know what I mean? Do you know before you get to the notice board?
Yeah, yeah.
Them bays there,
Yeah.
shallow, and I'd been out on a maggot feeder catching nothing, and I'd been loose feeding maggots short, and I picked my stick float up, went in, and it was about that deep.
What, 3 foot?
Yeah, I went in, it went a yard, I went under, clonk, got a chub. And I caught, and this bloke again and nodded on feeder, not many, he caught 3 or 4 fish, but every time he caught one, he got up, walked out in the water and plopped it in his net. And I used to say, it was like being, can you remember Bob Walker?
Yeah.
Big Bob?
Yeah.
It was like being next to him, because he always used to want to get in the river up to his top of his waders, and he were wobbling about, and there was just waves everywhere. Anyway, this bloke would get up, chuck his, and like I'd go about a yard from him, and it'd go under, and there'd be a chub there, and I ended up with £45.
Wow.
Yeah, of these chub. I think I had 24 chub and 2 roach, 3 roach, something like that. Another thing I can remember that day, I was fishing 1/7, and the guy knotted me line, and I'd had it in there for ages in my up length, and I thought I better change that. It's getting too good. And I changed it, and I cracked off first time.
No.
I never cracked off. Yeah, I thought that's horrific. You know what I mean? But I caught £45, and it was a miracle to stop there.
Mm.
But I've had loads of good matches, mate. I like to think.
Did you win that day?
No, a second, £50-odd won it. Yeah, in the Weirfield. Yeah.
I can't believe you used to catch chub on a stick float in 3 foot of water.
Used
in
to call
winter.
Used to call it rock hopping, mate. Sometimes at Burton Joyce, you'd try and run it right down the stones with somebody 21 paces away from you, and they used to be right tight in.
What, in like shallow water?
Yeah, and just right, you'd floated go under and think, oh, you floated, come out that far, you were stuck on a rock. Next chuck, you go down, and it'd go under the same place, you just go clonk, and it'd be a chuck.
As if they lived in the rocks.
They lived against the rocks, mate. Yeah, they did it not everywhere, but there were certain places. 232 on the road stretch with what was in them trees now, that used to be a noted peg for rock hopping. Didn't look any different to anything else.
How did you get them out on light gear with a 24 hook, Wayne?
They didn't. Like, you used to go on the Thames and hook a chub, and it wanted to, wherever you hooked it, it wanted to go under the trees in the rat holes and all that. You couldn't stop them sometimes. On Trent, because it flowed a bit quicker, you'd hook them and they'd just sit in the flow.
Didn't you used to pull your arm off?
No, they didn't used to run off or anything like that.
Right.
You'd hook them. You might backwind a couple of times, but then you also knew how to play them. I hook one now. I go, oh dear. But I used to just hook them and you just start winding. You know.
Right.
You just got it. It's like you just get into the groove, isn't it? It's like, you know.
I'd love to have been and fished
Oh,
a
it was
few
brilliant,
matches when
mate.
they were there.
I always thought, I sat in the Nelson pub after the matches having a pint with the lads, and you always thought you'd be going to Burton Joyce for the rest of your life. It was that good, or going to Eynde. It was that good, and then all of a sudden it finished, and like,
how did it demise? How did the Trent demise, Wayne? How did it disappear? Like, why aren't you still doing that now?
it just went, mate. It went in the middle to late 80s. It hung on a bit in some areas, but Burton Joyce went weird. It just suddenly stopped catching any manta roach. You could still catch a few chub, but it all went to fishing wascrubs. That's the only thing you could catch a lot of chub on. Wascrub, yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I don't know. Just a bait they don't see much of. I think Terry Hill and one or two of them used to catch a lot of tigging and Burton Joyce with it and that. It was a good bait anyway. One or two nationals been won on wascrub up, up near the weirs and that. But it just went. No roach, no gudgeon. Roy Tolson, who'd ran the matches for, I don't know when I meant to phone him actually, but I never got around to it. I don't know quite when they started, probably, 73, 74. And he lingered on with him for a few years, and he just said, I'm not doing it anymore. It had gone from 120 peg sellouts to like 20 or 30 going. And they just said that's it. And the whole river just sort of like closed down for a long, long time. We had odd matches on it that was quite good, but he tried them again and nobody caught anything. It was terrible. No, all the gusters went from the Middle Trent that were black with them. Places like Ratcliffe, which was the best place for them really, on the feeder or on the pole. We used to have Jan Porter and Ted Stokes used to run Wednesday afternoon matches, and the fishing were fantastic. Might not win out with £25 Augustas.
And it's just demised.
It just went, mate. I mean, I fished Ratcliffe a few times over the last few years. Never catch any Augustas there.
No.
You've more chance of catching a sturgeon there than Augusta. Yeah.
It's true, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
In terms of, obviously, the Trent, and while we're on it, I know that team fishing did play a massive part in your angling.
Yeah, I loved it.
And am I right in thinking you were there at the very start of the famous Trentman team?
Trentman was formed. Ted Stokes and Pete Palmer and Roy Tolson. There was a Trent Winter League starting, and I think they decided, well, we was always in Knutsford, but we wanted to have a club of his own. I wasn't good enough at the start to get in it, and they formed this club to fish Trent Winter League against Barnsley and Leicester and that, and eventually I got in it, you know. And yeah, it was a fantastic team. It formed the basis of Knutsford national team,
right?
Because we used to have to fish trial matches, and you never got your best team, nowhere near. 3 trial matches, you never got your best team. You'd get half a dozen really good anglers, and then half a dozen that weren't going to cut the mustard really. What you needed to win things. So we had a good manager, John Chapman, in Knutsford, who took over running the team, and they picked the team, and we picked the proper anglers to do the job.
So rather than qualifying, you picked the best.
Yeah, they picked the best. And
who's this gang that we can see on screen now?
Oh, dear mate, some crackers there. On the left, Steve Adley, who was only a young lad. We used to call him Bombhead because he used to just explode and do something stupid.
Bombhead?
Yeah, that's what we used to call him, Bombhead.
What would you call something stupid? Give us an example.
That match, I think, if that's the one I think it is, when we was on the Camaroos, I'm not sure if that's the one. It could be on the Bristol Avon, that I don't know. But he went out, met a girl, couldn't get back to the hotel in time, so he nicked a car. And the police were chasing him all over. Like, he never got to the match. Gracie had to step in. He was in the team, but we had put reserve in. Gracie never turned up at the draw.
What? Because you'd been out the night before, met a bird.
Yeah, that's it. That's how it was, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
Bombhead,
that's what we used to call him. But that's the lad that's off on the photo.
Yeah.
Then you got Pete Palmer,
right?
Who was brilliant. Won the John Smiths, won the Gladden Masters on the rowing course. Really good trend, really good all round. He's good on tip as well, Pete was. Won the Welland Championship. Then you got myself.
Look at Air and Tash there, Wayne.
You got to be a porn star in them days. And you got John Dean. Then Jeff Hicks, he was like reserve runner. Then you got Ted Stokes, who were brilliant. Paul Cope, who again he moved to Bristol, Paul. He was a really, really good angler. I used to like Paul. Then you got Terry Dorman there. On the end in the shirt.
Tackle Shop
Dormans, yeah. And then, can't remember his name actually. He was a decent Nottingham angler, but he might have fished, I don't know. Aubrey Houghton on the bottom, then coming this way, Robin Grass, Don Slaymaker. That's John Abbott. I think he might have fished on Bristol Avon, but I'm not sure. Then Roy Tolson, he was my best man at the wedding. He was a good angler, Roy.
Wow.
He don't go much now.
There's some absolute legendary names.
Oh yeah,
there
was like Johnny Rolfe used to fish, and a few Frank
Barlow.
Frank Barlow used to fish.
So that's Knutsford.
That's Knutsford. Frank used to go in with Knots Anglers a bit. He did.
Right.
He'd think, "Oh, I'm going to fish with Knots Anglers this year," and think, no, we never held out against him. It was, but he did fish. He did fish on the Trent with Knutsford when we won 2 nationals on the Trent.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were second. Once to Barnsley on the Camaroos, beat by a point. I think we were second or third on the Bristol Avon. We had a run of about 4 or 5 years, but where we went, we did well.
So what's the link between Knutsford and the Trentman then? What's the difference? What happens? Is it the same team basically?
Same team basically, but Trentman was just a club that was affiliated to Knutsford, who was affiliated to the NFA.
Got you.
We weren't affiliated directly to the NFA, so we had to go through an affiliated club, which were Knutsford.
Right.
And we got them to pick the best teams we could, and it all sort of dissolved when the Trent went a bit You know.
How you say you won nationals with them on the Trent? Can you remember any of the matches from them
mate,
nationals?
Yeah. The
'Cause
first
they must have been big nationals then.
massive. Yeah, there was 80 peggers, 80 teams of 12.
So 80 peg
I did fish
sections.
the last ever national before they went divisions. That was on the 7. There was 112 teams in it.
Flipping
Yeah.
heck. Of 12?
Yeah, Birmingham A won that with. They was all from Cofton, like Hackett, which was a great team.
Yeah.
Johnny Tolson from Nottingham fished for him that day. Kevin fished.
Cavasher?
Yeah, and obviously Clive Smith, Kenny and all that. They had a great side.
Mm.
And it was on their water. They absolutely, they're never going to get beat. They knew it that well. And that was the last one in, I think it was 70, 71, something like that. And then 78, that's when Notts Fed won it.
And you fished
I
that year?
fished, yeah.
How old would you have been then?
22.
22?
No, 24 then, mate.
Right.
Yeah. I was into it then. I was catching loads of fish. And we wanted a low or an high draw. We didn't get one. We got about 30-ish, something like that, which was not so good. Everybody were tipping Mel Story's lot to win it. Kidderminster, I think it was, all Stories, because they were coming down on the river, catching loads of chub on feeder and that, but they were never going to win it because there weren't enough feeder pegs. There was winning individual matches with decent weights, you know.
Yeah.
Maggot feeder. You've seen Mel Story feeders,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the clear ones with the caps on. Still,
Yeah. People still use them
oh,
now,
I know
don't
they do.
they?
Yeah, I've still got some. Yeah, and there was anyway. They was the favourites, and when we drew like the 30s, I just says we'll still win this. We've got such a good team, you know what I mean? Anyway, I drew Caythorpe, which I'm always at Caythorpe.
You still are now.
Yeah, I
you
know.
still draw there now.
I know. I hated it, and the pegging was horrendous. And Ivan were there. We drew next to Leicester.
Ivan Marks.
Ivan Marks. He
The
was
Ivan Marks.
Yeah, the Ivan Marks. We was on the bus. We drew next to Leicester, Stampeacher and all them lot, and likely lads fishing for him. And I drew next to Ivan, got on the bus. I knew him anyway, and we were chatting and that, and I was next peg to him. Anyway, got off the bus and climbed over the fence, that middle fence at Caythorpe on the roadside.
I know
It's
it.
never changed. It headed upstream a bit, and I looked up and I thought, you know, what's up there? Has there been an accident or something? There was 200 people stood waiting for Ivan.
What, to watch
To
him?
watch Ivan. Yeah,
On the bank?
On the bank, at his peg. They'd all heard where he'd drawn. There was all there. I thought, Jesus, I was above him. 15 yards away from him, that's all.
Oh, no.
And I said, come on, lads, give us a bit of a break. Just stand back a bit, because there was all up my peg watching him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm thinking, Jesus swept, here we go. And anyway, we fished the match.
Were you nervous right next to Ivan? Or?
No, not really, mate. I was loving it.
How old were Ivan at the time?
Oh, I ain't got a clue.
But he was in his...
Oh, he was in his pomp,
heyday.
mate. Yeah, he was in his pomp. He was winning Great East Championships and all sorts, you know. And he would chain smoking as he used to do, and we was having a bit of a laugh and set up, and I set Waggler up and stick float, and can't remember where he set up, but I thought, anyway, he fished for gudgeon for some strange reason.
Right.
He was fishing for gudgeon a lot. There weren't that many there. There was some. And I was just fishing stick float and swapping to Waggler, just feeding 2 lines. Just to get out on the Waggler, I could nick a yard while they were looking down, you know what I mean? The pegging with that time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Anyway, fished the match, and I ended up with £9 on, and he weighed £4. So
Wow.
I was like, ooh, give it in it, you know what I mean? And actually won the national that day next to them. I think Johnny Mole, he not like his Stampeacher, but Johnny Mole were next to Stan.
Yeah.
Framed in the match for £17. And I think Stan had something like 10 or 12 ounce.
Wow.
Yeah. And John, you could never copy John. It was a brilliant angler.
Did you have a plan, or did you all just go and fish?
No plan.
You'd
Just
got the
go
best
to your peg.
anglers.
Just go to your peg and fish how you want to fish.
Right.
We're fishing against Barnsley, and I think Barnsley, I don't know, they were 3rd or 4th or 5th, something like that. And we won it with record points. We could have had 2 dry nets and still won it with like 30 points.
That's frightening.
Frightening. And it wasn't brilliant fishing. Some of the lads like Johnny Rofe did really well in his section, and he had £4. It wasn't brilliant fishing. But we knew how to catch. You know, roach and gudgeon and
Years of
Waggler,
experience.
Yeah,
doing
years
it.
of experience. Yeah, and like, we're just brilliant.
What were your best time with the Trentman or Notts fed?
Winning them nationals, because like 3 or 4 years later, we won one on the Upper Trent. This time we record weight. Although it was a points match, we got the record weight for the nationals, you know what I mean? And that was solid up there, mate. It was. I think I was 42nd in my section with £9 odd, which is incredible.
That's good fishing.
Good fishing, mate. With £20 everywhere.
There's no wonder that Trentman, when you listen to these stories, I like Trentman, that name, like, it's dominant.
It's still going,
it?
but they're into Trent Angler in there. I wind them up about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're still going, and they're doing all right. The fish saw Winter League and things like that. And they do all right. I know all the lads in there. Like, I just give them a bit of stick saying you ain't got Trent Angler, change your name. You know what I mean?
Saw anglers.
Yeah.
Sawmen.
Yeah. Most of them are canal anglers, but they're a good set of lads and they catch some fish, so fair play to them. And I like to see the Trentman name still going on.
Yes, I was just going to say it's nice that name's still going, isn't it?
Yeah.
What happened to Trentman? Where did you go after that? Like, where did your team fishing journey take you from there?
We started fishing there's some big matches at Birmingham. It's called Birmingham Parks, it was. And they used to have qualifying matches, 2 hours, that was all, on one of the park lakes in the city. You never know where you're going to be. And they were like typical park lakes. Railings were behind them sometimes, and you'd get over the railings and fish. I used to draw Salford Park a bit, which was a bit different.
Must have been a bit of a drive for you from Nottingham.
Yeah, but it wasn't bad. We could do it in a bit of just over an hour. And they used to like draw at 6, fish 7 till 9. And there was a big final with, fair bit of money in it to be won. And there was a team final as well. And we started fishing them, and I fished again. Clive used to fish a bit, and Kenny and
Clive
Smith,
Kenny Giles.
Yeah, they always used to fish him, and you'd sometimes see him and that. And when it's about 82, I was fishing. I think I might have come second in the final. I got beat with a late tench. I think it was this day. Anyway, it's hard to remember. Anyway, Kenny and Clive come round and said, "Look, do you want to come and fish for Shakespeare? We're starting a new team up, professional team backed by Shakespeare." And I said, "Well, I said, I'll think about it." And then I realised that that's Frank
Barlow.
Yeah, that that's Don Slaymaker, that that's Stampede Drew I knew well. And we all decided to go, and they paid us for fishing.
Really?
Yeah, they paid us for fishing.
When's this, Wayne?
This is 82, 83 time when we went.
How much did they pay you, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it was about 187 quid a month, something like that.
I think it were about £187.21 a month.
Yeah, it was something like that. It might have been 2 months of that.
That's a lot of money a month to go fishing, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's not bad, that, really.
It paid for everything, really. Expenses, your bait, falls, petrol.
Was that common at that time?
No, really uncommon.
Yeah, so you were like the first, almost like first professional team.
Well, that's what they were trying to be.
Yeah.
Shakespeare Superteam, they were called.
Which is still going now, still a great team, really.
It's Cadence now.
Super team's still there.
Tony Barker's still in the. He joined a bit after me. He's the only one that's still there now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you all decided to go for it, and
yeah, you could feel the Trent beginning to get. Although I could still fish with Trentman. I mean, I was only fishing winter leagues on the Avon and the Severn, Gloucester Canal, and a few team matches. It wasn't as probably as dominant as it was later on, but we're sponsored with tackle. We got all this tackle free.
That must have been a real professional move for you.
All his waterproof clothing, everything else, t-shirts and everything,
And what happened with Shakespeare? How did you get on with them? What can you remember from that?
We're brilliant, mate. We're just anglers. We just blended. You know what I mean?
That's a picture of one of the teams there.
That's a bit later on when Frank and Don had left then. Stan was still there. Kim Milson come. Nolly come. Tony Eves were there, and Jeff Perrin had come. But Tony Eves, left to right at the top, you got Tony Davis. He was lovely. Brilliant angler.
Still fishes Evesham now,
Still
Tony,
fishes
doesn't he?
Tony, yeah. Speak to Tony now and again. Nolly, then you've got Steve Pierpoint, who ain't very well at the minute. Stan, Kim Milson came. Myself, Stu Harford. Then on the bottom, you got Stevie Webb at that end. He was a good angler. He designed a lot of kit for Shakespeare. He did.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Then you got Tony Barker who come. Kenny. Clive had obviously passed away by then. Jeff Perrin. Tony Eves, he was brilliant. And then Maurice Dutfield, who lived at Worcester, he was a good angler as well. Yeah, so that was the second coming, really.
I'd love to get Newley on a podcast.
Oh, do you know the record would be broke?
What, for nattering?
For nattering. You'd need to be here 2 days. Yeah, he's good. Newley would be very, very good.
He would, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
He's
got some stories. Yeah,
you might have to have a few beeps on it, mightn't you?
Yeah, he would do. Yeah.
Right.
Especially when he tells you about the ones where he got his bank stick out. Yeah. And we had a real good time with them. You could see what was happening. Unfortunately, I never got the chance to fish with Clive. He got ill and he passed away.
That's all before my time, but obviously Kenny Giles and Clive Smith.
Yeah, they was massive, mate.
Is Kenny still here?
Yeah, Kenny's still here. I spoke to Kenny the other week. Yeah.
Is he still fishing?
No.
Right.
He packed up. I had a lot of his kit. I've got a little shovel where I keep in the bottom of my bait bag, and that's dug every peg out on the Y, the 7, and the white shaven.
Has it?
Yeah, it's like a little aluminium spade, which is brilliant. It's never obviously aluminium, never got rusty. Still use it now when I get a bit of a tricky bank.
Incredible.
Make a few steps to get to get up and down the bank because I ain't getting any younger. And I've still got that. I had a few bits and bobs off him, and he was trout fishing. He used to tie his own flies and everything like that. And he had a couple of trials for the England vets, and he went, I think it was to Milton Keynes somewhere, and they made him walk a long way. And when he got to his peg, he wasn't very good. So he just said, "That's it, I've done now."
Right.
And he's had open heart surgery, triple bypass, I think, since then. But he's all right. Yeah.
Good.
Don't sound any different.
Right.
It was amazing because, like, you'd look at him like Kenny, look at him like, don't look like he'd been fishing. Everybody else, it's like we'd go to Eckington, the worst place on the Lower Avon. There were stiles like 5 foot high, mud pits. Kenny would have a jacket on and a tie and a shirt and come back, looked like he'd just been to Pala.
Never.
Yeah, me and Frank were covered in mud up here, like it was unbelievable, mate. But it was fantastic, I had a really good time with him. Yeah.
What were your most memorable wins with the Shakespeare Superteam?
Well, we won the as a team. We won the Winter League final. We won the.
Is that what that picture is there? That's what that's labelled.
Yeah, that's the first one at Twyford. Dave Howell, who's got the trophy in between his legs, sadly passed away. I went to his. I didn't go to his funeral. I went to his night wake or something, whatever it was, to remember him. I went there.
Bless him.
He won the match upstream of MPEG at Twyford with, I think he had a big 20. Dave Howell was in the money. And, we were fantastic. We absolutely murdered it on the day, all at Twyford. It was good fishing. I won my section with £12 on a roach. And it was really good. And that was the start of it, really.
What was the atmosphere like as a team then? Like, I'm looking at that and you can see Frank on the left-hand side, Don Slaymaker, Dave Harrell.
I think what helped was when I went, I'd got some of my mates with me. But we was all dead friendly. We never had a fallout or nothing. I couldn't remember sadly, I couldn't remember Paul Downs fishing for Shakespeare, but obviously he did because he went back to Starlets, but he was a good angler. Ken Smith there in between Stan and Kenny Giles, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
He was a rough and ready angler, but he was brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah, he was really good.
Did you used to go out and have a good time after fishing?
Yeah.
Always had a few beers?
Oh, mate, yeah, I can tell you some of the things, yeah. Some of the matches, we all shoot, me, Don and Frank, we used to go to Stan Peach's house in Anstey. He'd got a great big Granada estate, and we used to all get in it. Go to places like Gloucester. 4 of us in with all us tackle Gloucester Canal.
4 anglers and 4 sets of gear in one car?
Yeah.
How?
Well, that's it, how. It just went in. We didn't have anything like we've got now, mate. It was incredible, yeah. We went to Ireland once, me, Colin Perry, I think it was Roy Tolson or Pete Palmer and Steve Draper. And we got everything into Ireland, ground bait, maggots, kit, in a Cortina. We flew and then got a Cortina estate at the airport.
Never.
And drove to the Ban at Portadown.
What, and fished?
And fished. Yeah.
Did well?
Yeah, we did well, yeah. Caught loads of fish. And then when we packed up, we left Steve Draper's basket on the car park.
On purpose?
No, he just forgot to put it in the car. But we got it back for him, But mental, mate. But yeah, we used to go in like a couple of times with just got out of hand after the match, and we'd be coming back. And I can always remember we was coming back up the M5 from Gloucester.
Yeah.
And, Stan were driving because it was his car. And we were ripping it about 80 mile an hour. And we'd all had a few, even Stan. And we come past this cop car, and this cop car were just looking at us as we went past. And Stan says, they were going mad because it was all going weird like that. You know what I mean? I thought any minute now he's coming past, but he never did.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Must have been a fisherman.
And possibly. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, it was great. Shakespeare was, and basically we fished. I was there 10 years, and simple thing was that was declining as well. The fishing on the Avon and the Severn. I mean, believe it or not, when we used to fish Gloucester Canal, we used to have winter leagues on Gloucester Canal.
That must have, again, it's a drive for you. You've done some travelling here, haven't you?
I probably drove more than anybody, mate, to be honest with you.
Were you always in the same spot at home, Nottingham?
Yeah, I've only ever moved. I've always been in Nottingham, but I'm like 5 miles from where I used to live. That's all.
You didn't. To go to Gloucester Canal is a long way.
Yeah, it's a long way, mate. 115 miles it was from our house.
Right.
And you wouldn't believe on there, but the dominant fish when we first started were chub on the feeder.
In Gloucester Canal?
Yeah, and you used to fish a little feeder to the tins.
There's none now.
No.
We fish Shanty's
Challenge.
Challenge.
Yeah, but there's not many anywhere. They're coming back in a few places, but there's not. Yeah, it was chub, mate. There was hardly any skimmers, roach. That's where the Shakespeare one were developed for fishing for roach on a straight lead down the middle of the cut, loose feeding bronze maggot.
That famous rod, little 10 foot.
Yeah, it's brilliant
9
rod.
foot.
Yeah, I've still got one.
Have you?
Yeah, I've still got one.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And basically the venues came to an end that you used to fish?
Yeah, I just went. We'd drawn Luddington one day. And,
is that on the Avon way?
Yeah, it's on the Avon, just below Stratford. It was never brilliant, but there was some fish there. There was some chub there and odd bream or two, and there was some roach in that, but it were deeper and steadier. And Don, I come to pick Don up, and Don says, I said, "What's up, mate?" He says, "I've done. I can't do it anymore because the fishing were getting that bad." You know what I mean? He says, "I'm jacking." I said, "No, I don't jack yet." And he jacked, and Frank jacked, and I just thought, I ain't coming on my own anymore. I'll tell Kenny. He wasn't happy that we'd left.
He was captain, Kenny Giles.
Yeah, he was a good captain, Kenny. Bit over enthusiastic and a bit technical, but just let your men go and fish, mate. That was me on the rivers, because there were no methods really. Everybody knew how to catch them. You know.
And what did he say when you said, "I'm leaving"?
Just
10 years all together, all that banter.
He tried to talk me around, and I just said, "No, I'm done now, Kenny." You know.
Yeah. What happened with Shakespeare then, Wayne? Like, when did it come to an end, or what was the next move after that?
Well, like Frank and Don, and as I explained before, like they'd made the decision to leave, just mainly because the fishing was just going downhill and downhill. Like it was going everywhere basically. And Milson had gone. Kim, yeah, he'd gone to Essex then.
Right. Were Essex a thing then?
It was just starting up. Clappy was just starting to recruit. He'd got this idea of making a super team down there, and he loved anything like that at the time. You know what I mean? And
Pete Clapperton. That's who Bob spoke about a lot in his podcast.
Do you actually know Pete?
No, I don't think I've ever met Pete.
Yeah, he's a Cockney-wide boy, really, but he's a great bloke.
Is that?
Yeah, he is, mate. He's a right laugh, an absolute right laugh. He's really, I love him, I do. Yeah, and he phoned me up, and I think Kim had told him to ring me. Actually, I don't know if that's true, but I think Kim might have told him to ring me. And he phoned me up, and he wanted me to come to Essex and be captain.
Wow.
Yeah, and I thought, I've just come from Shakespeare, and I thought, flipping, that's a long way. And he phoned me up a couple of times. I says, "No, Pete, I'm interested, but it's a long way. I need a bit of a break from Shakespeare." He said, "No, come, I want you to come." I says, "Well, what am I coming for?" He says, "What do you want?" And I says, "I don't know, I'll think about it. Ring me back in a week or two." And he rang me back, and he says, "Have you made your mind up?" I says, "Yeah, I'm interested." He says, "What do you want?" And I just said, "Well, it's a long way." Tongue in cheek, he says, "You can buy me a new car." And there was about a 10-second silence, and he says, "Yeah, I'll buy you a new car. Come and be captain." I says, "Yeah, you're on."
Never.
Yeah. Unbelievable, mate. Nearly fell off my chair.
Wow.
Did he buy you a new car?
Brand new car.
What car was it?
He
Go
bought
on.
me a brand new Astra Estate.
Gave it you?
Gave it me.
What, like, here you are, Wayne, here's the keys, here's your new
That's
car.
just exactly how it was. Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah. And I'd kept that car till it had done about 140,000 and then chopped it in. But yeah, that was,
And did you go there as captain?
Yeah, I went there as captain. We was quite successful.
That's a
It
very
was
modest
brilliant.
statement.
It was brilliant fishing with Bob, and it was everything gelled straight away. Like with there was all good lads. Yeah, I knew quite a few of them anyway.
Talk us through who were there. So when Pete's tried to get this super team together, who are we talking about? You've mentioned Kim, yourself, Bob Nudd.
Yeah, Derek Young, Pete Vasey, who was brilliant. Martin Bold, Darren Davis, Paul Burrs, Bobby Carr, who was all right, but you knew he was going to be going at any stage. You know what I mean? He was, because you still had to keep evolving the team to keep up with everything. You never got it right from the first go.
What did you have to do as captain?
Just select the teams, basically. It wasn't as mad as it is now. I can imagine, but just basically pick the teams and make sure everybody was available and talk to a few of the lads that had been left out and things like that. We was also getting paid off Clappy as well.
What, to fish?
Yeah, to fish again. Yeah,
as well as being given a car.
Yeah, which was brilliant.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Almost like the first professional anglers really getting paid like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
No team anglers get paid now, do they?
I don't know.
Was there more money in the sport back then? We've had similar conversations before. I
don't think so.
But so what was the... Again, I'm coming at it from like a bit outside. What was the incentive to say...
You've got to give people an incentive to go.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But
to
there's
travel. But the incentive was for me to fish with the anglers that were there. I mean, Bob was fishing with Nuddy. I knew Bob. I knew him from when we fished, like I was saying to you, layer pits on a Captain Morgan.
Yeah.
You know, that was the first time I'd met him. You know, and he's world champion, mate. It was just like fishing with Bob Nudd, and he was bang on it then as well.
How did that team, Wayne? So obviously he's selected. Pete's gone, right, I'm going to get this gang of lads together who are going to dominate. How long did it take you to become a force, and how did you build up to become... Because Essex, you're talking early 90s here.
92 onwards.
Yeah,
mate.
that was when I got into match fishing, and I'm buying magazines and reading about Essex County Vandenham, winning everything.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get it to that? And
well, obviously we started off with the bare essentials of a team, although it was really good. And then as we progressed, we added better anglers to it. Basically, like, it's always been a merry-go-round of the same anglers, really. But we'd got them to start off with. And we just, the venue suited us. There were no team plans or anything like that. Even when we went on to fish bloodworm on the North Bank in the Trent, we all fished it as best we could. The way we knew, I can't go and say, look, Nod, you're doing that wrong, because he won't be, but he'd be fishing it probably different to how I was feeding it. Things like that. I mean, I learnt loads when I moved areas. Like when I went to Shakespeare, I had to evolve again my fishing, because I was fishing places I'd never been. And it was the same with Essex. I started to have to learn how to fish bread punch on the cam and things like that, and squats and pinkies on drains and things like that. And it was good for me, because I was starting again, and I got all the basics there and the tackle and everything, but I was starting again.
I can't help but like listening to you. I'm thinking here, like, you're talking about all that technical stuff from the Welland, then the Trent in winter, then you go to Shakespeare,
it was all
and
different,
Gloucester
mate.
Canal, Parks in Birmingham, then you're off to Essex, River Cam, bread punch, drains, Thames. What a diverse...
London canals, the River Eynde.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, mate.
You've had some really diverse fishing, haven't you?
And it's all stood me in good stead wherever I've been. Going on them drains early on the Welland, and you learn things, and you go back to there, it might be 10 years later, and you know what's going, you're on it. It's like, it was brilliant, mate.
What matches stick out in your mind from fishing with Essex? Like
Winter League finals were brilliant. Brilliant. Especially when we come on the Trent and we brought Bloodworm with us, which nobody was doing. I mean, we didn't win the first one. I thought we'd obliterate it, but we didn't. But we won after that quite easy. You know, fishing out and out Bloodworm, really. If you was on gusters, it were better to put a maggot on the hook.
And what were the tactics? What was the key to winning?
Just fish Bloodworm properly. Little bit of feeder fishing sometimes for an hour, but the hybrids was dying off a bit then. So we were just fishing bloodworm, catching roach and a few gusters. Just nice bloodworm fishing.
Pole fishing?
All pole fishing, yeah. Just a bit of feeder fishing if you thought you was on a few, you know. But the wind made it. The wind played a part as well on the embankment, because prevailing wind was a lot of sort of on most of it were down and at you. So if you was on a strong wind, you had to, you know, you wanted to be fishing in the flow, but some places the pole were too long and you had to come back a bit, or you started on a feeder and, you know. But, I mean, that went as well. I mean, the last time we fished it, we didn't do much good, and the weights were pitiful. It just went, you know, and that was the end of that. It was a brilliant place to have a final. I used to peg that out as well.
What do you think it'd be like now on embankment?
The right time of year to be really good. You know,
be cool to see another big match there, wouldn't it?
I don't think the council would do it anymore.
No?
No, I'm sure they wouldn't. You know, there used to be, I can't remember how many used to be in the final, but I used to peg the whole lot out. And down below Trent Bridge, which was never pegged, that was good.
Right.
Early on, that was really good for gusters down there. But roach fishing on bloodworm was brilliant.
Right.
You know.
And what else happened? So during your time at Essex, you've gone there, joined as captain, bossing it. How did it progress?
Well, we started to get, we got more anglers, better anglers. Polly came, Yanni came,
Paul Yates, Mark Pollard,
and it just made it a stronger and stronger team. And they all brought different things to the team. I mean, Polly, outstanding angler, you know. Bit of a joker as well. I can remember once we was having a practice on the Higgin for I think it was Super League final, and we'd all set up, and Clappy called a meeting. So I walked past Polly and I said, I'll be up in a minute, I'm just shotting up a bit. And anyway, he come up like and talking and what we're going to do, how we're going to fish it, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. Some would ball it different, some would put it in softer, some would do it in all soil and leam and things like that. And I went back to my peg anyway, bowled it in like that, and everybody's game one and drop, and I can't. Half an hour through, I'd got about 3 fish. Polly's game one and drop, the lad below me's game one and drop. I'm thinking, picking up, I've got like 3 top 4s or 5 set up, and I said, well, they're all the same depth anyway. What he'd done, he'd moved all my floats down a foot. So the first 45 minutes, I'm fishing a foot off the bottom.
Never.
Oh yeah, mate, foot off the bottom of bloodworm. I'd had three fish that big. They were getting one a throw either side of me. I thought I'd fed it wrong anyway. I replumbed up and I thought, that's why he's done back. And once I'd plumbed up and started, it was solid, you know.
Yeah.
But it was like that, Polly. It was like that. It either, other times, he'd like just put an extra shot on your rig, so when you put it in, you think, God, Mr. Bite. And they get Mr. Bite. It was like that. That's how he was. You know?
Yeah.
But no, it was just, we've got better anglers, and we talked about it more. We got a few better venues to fish as well, where we could really fish, you know. The downside of it was for a while that our winter league, which was, well, we fished a few winter leagues, East Midland Winter League, you used to be able to place your men. And it was difficult to beat like hot rods because they lived there, and we was all coming out from different areas, and they'd been practising on it in the week, but eventually that rule was scrapped. But we went and fished the London Canal Winter League as well, which was, again, new to me, you know.
Another set of venues.
The London Canals are brilliant, mate.
Good fishing.
Yeah, all in the wall, Cranley Gardens, all that, they're really good fishing. Not every time, but like, we fished Victoria Park. on the Regent's Canal, and it was all good, mate. It was all good.
Did Kim eventually become captain of Essex? Didn't he?
Yeah, that's when, unfortunately, I lost my licence.
What, driving?
Yeah, drink driving. Yeah.
What happened there, Wayne?
Well, we'd had a Super League final on the Avon and River Avon at Twyford and Ayford commercial. We'd absolutely paralysed it on the river. You know, fishing bloodworm, catching roach, and I had a bream, and there was odd chub caught, and we won it easy on there. And then we'd always go to Ayford and struggle because it was out and out carp fishing, and we ain't got a side that was. It was all right, but it wasn't good enough to beat the best carp anglers. You know what I mean? Like Grant was fishing with starlets, and he was showing them all how to fish meat and all that. And
Grant Albert.
Yeah, and we've got Ifield with Mark Addy and Lee Addy and all that, Pimlet and all that lot that was fishing carp venues all the time. And we always come third. They'd beat us, and I was ragged off, and I just said, I'm going home. I've had enough, like, just fed up. And I said, nah, come and have a pint in the beer tent. There was a big beer tent set up there, and well, the loads went back, like, we were just waiting for the presentation and all that. I'm not normally like that, but I was just a bit racked off, you know what I mean? So I went in there, and we started having a few beers, and then it got to about 9:30, and I think there was just me and Mark Harper and a couple of others, and he was on his ukulele or whatever, his concertina thing, singing. And I said, right, I'm going. And it was at the time when the M1 round Leicester Forest East had just got roadworks on it for months and months and months, and I just sailed through it was a 50 mile an hour limit. The cones was off the road, but the signs were still up 50 mile an hour, and I just sailed through there at about 65, 70, under the speed limit, but got pulled up speeding, and obviously wound the window down, and the bloke said, "You'd come and sit in my car," and he said, right, blow in the bag, and I was over the limit.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I had a night in Beaumont Leys police station and 15-month ban.
Regret that?
Oh, massively, mate. Yeah, but it was, as you look back on what happened and you know how he was, it was always inevitable it was going to happen, to be honest.
Would you say that were like a done thing in that era, Wayne, with fishing?
Mate, some of the nights we used to have our fishing matches was crazy, with people like from a long way away as well, who was your mates, and they always liked to beer, like whether we used to get Starport and that on business match on a Wednesday, and there was always a few beers in the showman afterwards, and, you know.
But times sort of changed since then, and
oh yeah, it has, mate. I mean, I still like to. I'm one of them that still likes to go back to the results and have a couple of pints or a pint and then come home. Or sometimes now, when it's cold, I just have a couple of cups of coffee. Yeah. You know, but there's a lot of people there, like 10 of a dozen of us, fish the match, and it's a good crack. Yeah,
part of your day out.
Part of the day out. It's social, isn't it? You know, and it's always been like that for fishing for me.
So did that stop you, that period, that ban,
yeah,
stop you
15
fishing?
months I didn't fish for Essex. I couldn't get down there. Kim Milson took over the captaincy, and to be fair, he did a better job than me.
Yeah?
Yeah, he did, mate. He was a bit more technical than me.
Right.
You know, and he did a good job, and we kept winning.
And did you go back to Essex after that time?
Yeah, straight back, mate. Yeah.
Back fishing?
Yeah, back fishing.
And what were it like fishing under Kim? What were it like as a captain?
Well, Kim had a bit of a reputation for not... he was a bit shy and introverted, you know what I mean? Where I was the opposite way. I was, you know... But it was all right. It was all right. I got on with Kim well. When we used to have big matches at home Pierpoint, he used to come and stop at our house.
Yeah.
You know, Kim was all right to me. He was a brilliant angler. I won't say he looked the best, but when he pulled his net out, there was always plenty of fish in it. You know what I mean? So you couldn't knock him for his results.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, he was all right.
Good.
Yeah.
What about the end of Essex, Wayne? Like, how did that come to an end? Because you're talking like a 10, 12-year period of absolute dominance in team fishing.
Yeah, well...
Like, surely you were sat there thinking, well, this ain't going to end. We're just going to keep winning forever.
I never thought, honestly, it'd last that long.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't. I thought it'd be a 5 or 6 year thing. But Clappy kept up with it for quite a few years. And he had other things in his life, like his fisheries and golf courses and things like that he were developing. He took his eye off the ball, and we slowly started to lose a few anglers. Polly left. he sold his soul for a bag of ground bait with another ground bait company. Thought he'd be able to fish with us, but you can't fish, use somebody else's product and then fish for Vandenine, you know what I mean? So he went, and one or two others went to Dorking. Diddy went, Darren Davies went.
Ian Didcot.
Yeah. He
Another
was there.
name.
Yeah.
Another Essex
Oh, he was
name.
good. There's a lovely angler, Ian is. He's a good mate.
He's a brilliant
Yeah,
angler.
he got talked into going to Dorking. Well, they were doing the same as us then. They were recruiting better and better anglers to take us on. You know what I mean? And eventually they passed us, you know what I mean? They'd got Des were there and Grant were there. And,
And so it just steadily broke
Steve
up.
Saun- Yeah, well, we could see it going downhill. I tried to get some more anglers in the end. I tried to wrangle Lee Kerry up, and he'd just signed for Barnsley, I rang a few more up that, probably once a good, but like one or two had come in, like Chris Jenkins come and fish, but Yanni left. Lee Harrison, who fished for us for a bit.
Yeah.
He left because it was too much travelling for him. Although he did well when he fished for us. And we just couldn't get the anglers in to keep it going properly. And people's life changes. One or two left, they got married and had kids and things like that, and they didn't want to do it. You couldn't do it anymore. It was like full on.
What were the last match you ever fished for Essex, Wayne?
Well, it was fantastic, really. It was the last match was the Evesham team final. I think it was 2007, something like that. And it was like Clappy came from Essex to see us. We was all sad. John Winkup afterwards, he says, "He've killed me, Swinscoe, packing the team in." He was devastated, he was. He still wanted to fish.
Really?
Yeah. One or two of them did. But we fished there. We've told everybody this was going to be the last match. And it was fantastic. We won it. We didn't draw that well. We had a lot of luck on the day, which you need. But we fished brilliant. And we won it easily. And it was just a great way to go out. Pete were there to see it. He was there at the start and he seen it at the end.
Yeah.
Really sad. I'd got tears.
Up there as well.
Yeah,
that.
that was it. I got tears in my eyes here.
Really?
Yeah. I think most of them had, actually.
You can sort of see. I mean, look at that for a team. John Winkup, Chris Vanderfleet, Gary Miller. That's Pete Clapperton, and then obviously Dean and yourself.
Me and Dean were first and second in the match. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant send-off, mate.
Genuinely very, very sad.
Very sad. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Incredible that kind of thing can come to an end.
Yeah, but
Really?
Nothing lasts in fishing, does it?
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, you've done... how long's Barnsley been successful now? A long time.
Long while.
Yeah, I mean, the original cast members aren't fishing anymore, are they?
No.
Dennis, Tommy, Cleggy.
No.
It's time. You've done well. Time rolls on. And you've done really well, mate, to keep it going. But you've had to do the same thing. They aren't all local anglers, are they?
No.
You've had to get
countrywide.
Countrywide. But you need people that's going to do it.
I almost feel, if I'm honest, Wayne, that I know it's sad that Essex came to an end, but that recruitment of anglers from all over the country and Pete Clapperton's idea to make this super team, I think that's what inspired Dorking.
Oh, it did.
In there, because they took anglers from everywhere.
Well, they couldn't beat us. They had, the lads who they got were good anglers, but they couldn't beat us. So
I think it's inspired Barnsley in their current dominance.
Definitely, yeah.
So I think
you can't do it. You can't dominate without you recruiting the best anglers, and they aren't all from Barnsley and Sheffield anymore. You have to go everywhere.
It happens in every other sport.
Yeah, but you need the right characters and they want to do it, and they want to do it as friends. When you have to get up and drive 3 hours to get to a match, and on your own sometimes, you've got to want to do it. And when there's a practice match midweek, you've got to do it. And you ain't got to do it. You want to do it. You want to be there, taking everybody on.
You know, after this long period of fishing for these top-end teams and dominance and success and winning these finals as a team in the golden era of team fishing, I dare say, how did it feel to suddenly not have that, and where did your fishing go from there?
Well, there was a few of the lads still wanted to fish as a team, and managed to get some sponsorship off Maver and Bait Tech, Pete's old European ground baits, so it's basically Vandenine. and started bait tech up. So we got a bait deal with them, which has been. I mean, I've still got one, to be honest, which I only have what I use. I don't go mental. I have a couple of boxes a year, really, which is enough, for what I want to do with it. And we fished for 2 or 3 years under Maver bait tech, but even that, it went a bit. We had Gav Butler, Sean Higginbottom, Wiggy, quite a few anglers, and we fished winter leagues and that, and did all right, But it wasn't the same for me. I wasn't fishing with Bob Nudd and John Wincott and Pete Vasey and Derek Young and all that lot. I mean, Derek Young packed up fishing. He just suddenly didn't do it. Pete's carried on now, but no, they was brilliant, them pair, and you could see it. You know what I mean? But you just couldn't recruit them anglers at the drop of an hat.
No,
with that experience and the will to do it.
Do you think? Do you think that the rise of commercials affected that team fishing at the time, or big money finals?
Yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, they always say commercials saved the angling industry, which it probably did, but it didn't do nothing for our sort of fishing, really, because unless you was into it, and quite a few people turned to it, like John Wincott, very successful at it. Even Don went carp fishing, and he was quite good at it. He was good at it, and quite a few of them did it. Polly's turned to it and all that,
Yeah.
Some haven't. Some still go plod on down the same route like I've done. I tried it. I won a few carp matches here and there, Makins and, places Blythe Waters and places like. I used to go with Yanni because Yanni was still, up and about then.
Yeah.
And he taught me a lot, and
Why did you think you never went down the commercial route fully? Didn't enjoy it?
No, I didn't enjoy it.
What didn't you like about
Tight
it?
pegging. Arguments about where you can fish. You can't fish there. I'm on, somebody off the other side of fishing to the island. I've seen people get up and fight over it. yeah. I can tell you a tale about that and all, but
Go on.
Well, we was at Makins and like Pat McAvoy, Pat from.
Oh, I know Pat.
Yeah, as rough as if he wants to be. He's a nice bloke, but if he wants to take you out, he's going to take you out anyway he can. I've seen him in action in a few times. Anyway. He's had a word with this bloke on the other side who's fishing to the corner of this island where he's fishing, and he said, like, you can't fish there, mate, that's straight in front of me. And this bloke says, well, you can off, Anyway, I stood it for a few times. He says, you ain't fishing there, mate. And anyway, he just put his pole down, shipped him back, put his pole, I walked round, just knocked him out. Yeah. And like, that wasn't the reason I didn't like carp fishing. I just didn't like the environment. Tight pegging and it didn't suit because I'm old school. It didn't really suit me. It was like if I got a few going, and like I said to you the other week, if I get a few going and all of a sudden they're gone and I'm waiting for them to come back, and it wasn't like that. You just started another line there or ever there, and they were there again, weren't they? But it's been my biggest failing in fishing, waiting for things to happen instead of making things to happen, because it's all from the culture of river fishing where you might go in the days of Burton Joyce Saturday match, you might go an hour before you get a bite, and you was building it up. But carp fishing ain't like that. You catch a few there, you do that there, and I never got to grips with it properly. I didn't really enjoy it.
And now you stick to your natural style, silver fishy.
Fish loads of commercials, but still silver commercials in winter. Love it.
That's a great scene, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely, mate. Yeah, we have some real good matches.
I want to ask you, we've talked an awful lot about fishing and your journey, and the one thing I'm thinking about, and I'm sure everyone listening is, like, you've done all this travelling and fishing for all these teams all over the country.
Yeah.
Like, what was your job? How did you afford to do all that and fund it? And
well, I've got a good job. I started as an apprentice electrician, and then obviously passed all me what I have to pass exams and made electrician. I worked for John Players, which was Imperial Tobacco, making cigarettes.
Right.
And it was a well-paid job. They used to say there's 3 doors on the boulevard. You can go through the boot swaps, which ain't bad. Go through the Players one, you made for life. Go through the Rally one, where they made bites. You never earned anything.
Really?
Yeah, it was like that. But Players were a good job. They looked after you. And I didn't do any overtime, but earned good money. And I worked shifts, so I could do a bit of practicing. You got 6 weeks holiday a year, which was 4 of them were fishing. But they got a 6 scheme where if you played it right, You could have like 2 weeks before you go bollocking. So I used to do that every year. I used to have a manager a foreman that just got fed up of me painting floats and making tying hooks in the day and all that. He used to come in and say, Swinnoe, I'd go out on a job when one come in, but it was like that. It was on maintenance. I mean, manager used to go fishing. He used to never bollock me out,
So you could get away
I got
with
away
it.
with murder, mate. I got away with murder. Yeah.
I can imagine you like turning up for work, clocking in with your hook box
used
and
to
your
clock
float
in,
box, sit down, start tying up.
No, there were no hook boxes then, mate.
Were they not?
No, it was like them little greaseproof paper packets. And Bob Nudd used to ring me in Nottingham and say, Wayne, I need some of these packets still. And it wasn't that long ago. In actual fact, when I seen Bob in a video, he'd actually got a hook box.
Yeah.
And it was only probably 10 years ago I used to get him these little packets to put his hooks in.
When I first went on features with Bob, he had B512s in a packet.
Yeah, that was it.
Up.
Yeah, I used to get him in because he couldn't get him in the shops round his way.
1 hook length per pack.
1 hook length per. And when you got them out, I used to hate it because you'd move them and you'd get a knot. You'd get a knot, so you had to start again on another one.
Yeah.
I used to hate them, mate.
I tell you what used to do my head in with them. Like Christmas when you've got after eights, you used to always put empty ones back in me hook thing.
Yeah.
So you'd get one out and you'd think, none in it, none in it, none in it. They were the same packets, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, nowadays you can use hooks that's pre-tied, mate. A lot of people do. They're brilliant. The only thing is, for me, a lot of them aren't on the size of line I want to use. The hook's there and everything, but there might be a tied to 010 where I want an 18 in winter or an 08 or something like that. An 08 probably is like 22 or something like that, and it's not.
Yeah. They're not the right diameter line to hooks.
No.
What about family-wise, Wayne? You must have had an understanding missus like to do that level of fishing and travelling. Did you sacrifice anything family-wise, or?
Well, every angler's selfish, isn't it? Carolyn, my missus, was brilliant, mate. We went out for about 7 years on and off. We used to fall out. I used to say to her, look, I'll come and pick you up at 8 o'clock. I was still at Burton Joyce on a Saturday night at 9 o'clock in the pub. I'd get there about 10. We were supposed to go into town to one of the nightclubs or something, and I'd get to her house and her dad was going mental. She'd be sitting on settee crying, and we'd fall out for 3 or 4 weeks. Then we'd get back together, and after 7 years we just got married. She'd been brilliant ever since. I was saying to Laddo here, I was saying I used to she used to take me son in the morning, Saturday and Sunday morning football match, and then she'd go and take me daughter horse riding in the afternoon every more or less every week of the season.
Fair play.
Yeah, she was brilliant, mate. She used to come with me when we was going out together. She used to come with Dunham and quite a few places, and we'd also have a drink afterwards, you know what I mean?
There must be like a level of acceptance after so long of knowing what you like. Well,
she's still brilliant, but she does now she's retired, she does get onto me a bit. But
hang on, she's going to listen to this, don't you?
Yeah, I know that.
All right.
Yeah. She gets onto me a bit because we've got grandkids now, and I don't like leaving her with 3 young grandkids. It kills her.
Right.
So I don't go so much in the week now.
Right.
And if I haven't got a match at the weekend that I fancy, I'm at that age where I'd have gone if it had been on the Awash Canal and the Pounder were going to win it like 20 years ago. I'd have gone, but I'll just say no, I ain't having that now.
Do you take the grandkids fishing?
I've asked them. They're all girls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be expensive, isn't it?
They are expensive now. I've just been Cleethorpes for 4 days in a caravan. It's been
How much did you spend on slots?
Don't want to know, mate. Don't want to know.
Did you win out on a grabber?
No. I spent a lot of money on a grabber.
Didn't win nothing.
Nothing. Picked it up, gets to there like it's done for the last 50 years and just drops it. Yeah. But the kids loved it.
Good.
But my missus has been brilliant, mate.
Good. I want to ask you, I know this is a very personal topic, but I know you took ill with cancer, prostate cancer.
Yeah.
What happened there, Wayne? What's the story? Because this is quite a loaded and heavy one, but I think it's important to have a chat about it.
Well, it is important. I was just luckiest man in the world, mate. I'd got no symptoms whatsoever. I didn't feel ill. I'd got no aches, no pains. I'm sitting like you now talking to you, just to say exactly the same state, probably a couple of stone heavier now, but I just had a routine blood test. I was a diabetic, I'm a diabetic type 2. That's never been a problem to me either.
Mm.
But I just had a routine blood test. When I got to 60, they check your PSA. And never thought anything. Had the blood test a week later. Gets a phone call from the doctor who says, your PSA's up. I've made you an appointment at the hospital. I never even thought anything. He didn't say it's because you might have prostate cancer or anything. I just think, I'm going to the hospital too. Anyway, I got there. I went to the oncology unit, which I thought was a bit strange. Anyway, went in and had the appointment, and the lad come through. He said, I've got to do a biopsy on you. And he did a biopsy on me. Then a week later, it come back, you've got prostate cancer. My reading was 8, which isn't low, but it isn't massive, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And obviously, I went to see the consultant, and again, all the options, what you could do. And the cancer itself was on the outside. It wasn't inside the prostate. It had come through to the outside, which says I'd had it quite a while, really.
Mm.
But I'd had not one symptom. And, I wasn't passing water badly or anything. I'd got no, I wasn't struggling to pass water. I'd got no pain. Or you can get it stings when you pee sometimes. That's, none of that at all. Absolutely nothing.
Clueless that you had got it.
Yeah, and obviously I talked to the consultant and he gave me the options. I said I'll have it out, and this was in August 2015, and I was lucky in the fact that with any cancer, time's of the essence.
Mm.
And my daughter, Emma, her friend, we didn't know this at the time, she worked for the consultant, she was the secretary, and we was on holiday in Portugal. With my daughter, and I got a phone call from her, and she said she'd got somebody had a cancellation. You could get me in next week on the Monday. This was on the week. I was flying back on the Sunday. No, sorry, I was flying back on the Wednesday the following week, and this was on the Monday that week. And I said to Missy, I said, I've got to go. And I went to the reception in the hotel, rebooked some flights, cost me another 600 quid, but it was money well spent. And I went straight into hospital and had my prostate out.
Wow.
Which was a tricky operation, really, because it wasn't going smooth, but it ended up all right at the end.
What happened? Why was it tricky?
Well, I decided to do it this new way of turn you upside down and do it with a robot on a computer screen. Put 6 puncture holes, like keyholes, in your stomach and go through with these things and do all the cutting and cut it out. And after about 45 minutes, the anaesthetist said my lungs were struggling to, because you actually turn you upside down, so they're working from underneath. You're like that, and your legs are higher than your head.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a long operation. It's like 3 or 4 hours. And the anaesthetist said, look, you're going to damage his lungs if you keep going. So they turned me back over. I had a 20-minute meeting, I reckon, and then did it open surgery.
What, are you awake while they're doing it?
No, I wasn't awake.
Out?
Yeah, I was out, but they just cut you and just, and get it like that with the
Old school, basically.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah.
I know this, not to divulge it, but as someone who's busy life, fishing, family and everything, to suddenly find out you've got that kind of illness, how did you deal with that, and how did that feel?
Well, I had no symptoms. I was never ill. All I'd had was an operation. Took it out. The surgeon says, I'm 99% sure I've got it all. So you was thinking, well, I've just been dead lucky. I mean, it took me about 10 or 12 days to get over the operation. I was feeling fine, Obviously, there's a few side effects with it. You don't get away scot-free, you know what I mean? There's different things that affect you, and it will always affect you. But after a year, my blood test was all right, and then my PSA started to creep up again. So obviously I phoned, they knew, the hospital knew, and they said, look, if it gets to 2, we're going to have you back in, see what we can do. And that meant radiotherapy. And the surgeon actually phoned me, and he says, the consultant, he says, look, we're not waiting till it goes up to 2. It's about 1.2 now. We're going to have you, I'm going to bring you in, and they're going to start a course of radiotherapy on that. Which was nothing, really. I mean, you go in, first of all, they just tattoo you 2 marks. And then when you go to have it done, you just lay on a bed, take your trousers down. They just these laser beams are lined up with these marks, and the machine just goes round you for 2 minutes.
You can't feel any pain or anything.
You can't see anything.
Wow.
And it's a lot more. The beams are a lot more intense and narrow now, so it don't impact on other parts of your body.
Got you.
I had 7 weeks of it every day, but not at weekends. And that was it. You're only on it takes you longer to find a parking spot at the hospital. It's like
Never.
Yeah, you're just on there 2 minutes.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. Did you ever get down about it, Wayne? Did it ever affect you?
No, I think that's a big thing with me. I never got down about it. I think the biggest thing, I told people straight away.
What spoke to people about it?
I said, look, I've got it, you know. I was never glum about it. I was worried. You know, it's something you think about every day.
Yeah.
And still think about it. But I've been dead lucky, mate. Other people I know haven't been. And
the fact that you have no symptoms of that kind of thing, and you could have it.
It's a silent killer, mate.
It's frightening.
It's frightening.
What would you say to any blokes that are, getting towards that age?
Well, your doctor is entitled to give you a blood test to test it after 60, which is okay, but if anybody's worried it's in their family or they're getting any sort of pain in that region of your lower stomach, behind your testicles, I would immediately go and get a PSA test. So that's my doctor. When I got to sort of like early 50s, from what I know now, I would say, look, go to your doctor, say I want a PSA test. Just because it's not forced to be cancer, just because you've got an high PSA. I mean, you know Paul Glenfield.
Yeah, I know Glenzie.
He's got a massive PSA. He's had it for He's had it for years, and they've tested him for cancer and everything, not found nothing. And his PSA is like 20 odd.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's worth just getting checked. I think especially like as fishermen and blokes.
Well, we're all at an age. Most of us are at an age now. I mean, you're lucky, you're young, but there's most of us at an age that's been fishing a while. Are that 55 onwards? You know.
Did you ever get any inkling as to what might have caused it or anything like that? Way?
No, I just think it's a lifestyle, mate.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Just think it's what you eat. Don't look after yourself that well. I don't think it's something to do with drinking or anything like that, but I think it's the food you eat. You know, you tend to be, when you're fishing and that, you tend to like calves and. I mean, I never have a cooked breakfast in the morning when I'm at home.
No,
I just have porridge and like a bit of toast. But when I go fishing, I'll have a breakfast. You know,
same.
Yeah,
same. I do.
Or I phone the missus up, say I'm going to be late. I'll have a McDonald's or Kentucky on the way home, and let's be right, it's not good.
No,
it's all right because it fills a gap, but you know, you wouldn't go say to your missus, "Oh, we'll go and have a Kentucky for his evening meal," would you? You might do if you was coming home from somewhere late at night and you was, you know, but.
Just a bit of looking after yourself. Not going to go amiss.
Mate. I think so, definitely. You know, I used to drink a lot, but I don't drink now that much. I have a few pints, but not loads.
Are you all happy and clear at minute?
Yeah, well, my blood tests can't be any better than they are now. I've had it for 8 years now.
Fantastic.
You know?
Yeah, it's amazing that.
Good to hear that.
Yeah, so
I've through it.
I've just been lucky, mate. That's all you can point it down to.
Damn right.
If I hadn't have had that PSA test. You know, if it had come 2 years earlier, no symptoms, had the PSA test at 60, it might have been 20 odd, and then you're in trouble. You know?
Yeah. It's a proper dicing with death.
Yeah, it is,
game
mate.
of luck,
a big killer in men.
I know this sounds crazy, but obviously I hear a lot of people in fishing talk about like chrysadine and die-off bronze maggots, and I know you've spoke about using it a lot, and certain Trent anglers have passed away. And do you think there's any link between that and people dying?
No, I don't, mate. They'd have found that by now, because when you obviously take your cancer away, they test it for all sorts of things, see if it, you know, how aggressive it is and all that. No, I don't. They always said Clive Smith passed away through chrysadine, but I don't believe that, because for years and years we were covered in it. I mean, like Tommy and Dennis used to be orange to the elbows, and they've survived quite well. You know what I mean? No, I don't, mate. Some people might be unlucky and could have affected them, but no. All the lads I fish with that used it, you know, some of them passed away, but not with cancer, just other things.
Yeah.
No, I don't think. I might be wrong, but in years to come they might find out a link. But no, I don't think so.
Awesome. Thanks for talking about that, mate.
Yeah.
It's not,
Well,
not a nice one, but...
No, but if it puts it out there and it helps anybody at all, you know.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
And
Thank
like
you.
Jim Burton's doing well. He runs prostate cancer matches, and you can actually have a blood test on that match if you
Really?
want. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And he's done a fantastic job.
There you go. Has Jim had it?
Yeah, Jim's had the same as me. Yeah,
Right.
we were lucky. He was getting higher and higher, and they got it. They saved him, like.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
There's a lot of people got it. Nolly's got it at the minute. You know, Pete Clapperton, he got it. About
It's
the same
very
time
common,
as me.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's one in a few. Prostate cancer is, but it's a big killer.
Get checked out, folks. If in doubt, go and get
Yeah,
go and get
definitely.
looked at. Definitely.
It's nothing. A blood test, nothing, mate.
No.
And I think now they're developing all other things, that different sorts of not surgery, but different sorts of way to treat it. I mean, they can put like radioactive seeds in your prostate and all things like that now, mate. So
Crazy,
you ain't
innit?
got to be opened up, you know.
Let's talk about fishing again.
Yeah,
We have a lot of guests talk about Ireland on the podcast, but one thing I want to talk to you about, because I know you spent quite a lot of years fishing there, is Holland. Tell us about the Holland match scene, like you and Don and Sam Wildsmith, Billy Reynolds. Like, you've had some great years matches fishing them festivals. How did that first come about, Wayne?
it first come about through Pat McAvoy, to be honest.
The old Makings knockout.
Yeah, yeah. And there was a few of them went from. He used to have a tackle shop, Stapleford Angling. Pat did.
Right.
Yeah, he's had a lot of things. That's the way he's made up. He's got sandwich shops now and things like that.
Yeah.
He does really well for himself. He's one of them, mate. He's a survivor of everything. He's brilliant. And this tackle shop, they decided to go and have a bit of a. I think Jan Schendler was friends with Pat as well at the time. And he says, "Come over to Holland and have a fish." There were no festivals then, and they went over and had a bit of a knock up between them. And they said the fishing is unbelievable. Loads and loads of bream on the Vaughan Canal.
Right.
And then Pat said the following year, "I'm going to run a festival." I says, "Right, I'd love to come, like." And there was quite a few of us went. I think there was about 40 on the first festival. Pat also had a vehicle rental place, and he had some minibuses, and he took all the back seats out the minibuses so we could get us tackling. And there was about half a dozen of us each van, and we went. I drove one year and somebody else drove another year. We used to go like that. It were brilliant.
On ferries.
Yeah, on ferries.
Bet that were a right laugh.
When we first went, we used to go the long way round. We used to go down to Harwich, across to Belgium, and then drive up through Belgium. But the last few years we used to go from Holland.
Yeah.
From Hull to Hook of Holland, which was overnight. It was brilliant, because there were less driving. 20 minutes from the port, you was in Elversluis,
Yeah.
And the fishing, it was the best bream fishing I'd ever seen. It was unbelievable, mate.
And what were the festivals like? You end up getting a lot of people on them?
Yeah, well, eventually we started with a week, then it went to 2 weeks, and then Jack Purchase Angling, they started running a week with Anne Purchase, and they had a week in between. It was 3 weeks.
And did you go for 3 weeks at a
Yeah,
time?
I went for 3 weeks at a time.
Flipping heck.
Stopped at Sita Romana, which is like a bit. It's not an holiday camp, but it's like a bit like Whiteacres, really. But houses, thatched houses, and proper showers and underfloor heating. Like when you come home wet through, you just chucked all your stuff on the floor, and it would dry in the morning.
Mega,
mate. Just what you wanted.
And what about the fishing itself? Like, did you ever win one at festivals?
No, I tied once with Sam on points, and he beat me on. I think he beat me on weight.
Sam Wildsmith.
Yeah, he might have beat me on section wins, but we had 5 points each, so there couldn't have been much in it. We were first and second, and we were travelling together. We won a lot of money, mad amount of money. But the fishing were brilliant, mate.
What were the tactics? How did you used to catch? Because you must have worked a few things out fishing there.
Well, it evolved over time, mate. When we first went, there was that many fish in there. It was hard to get it right. You just foul up that many fish. It was crazy. You could put your pole in your up and overs before the match started, and your float were going under it with no bait on. Your float were going under every chuck.
Got just bream.
Just bream it in your line.
Wow.
Unbelievable, mate. Sometimes your float would go under, then your pole ends in the water, you'd foul up one. But you think loads of fish, put loads of bait in, get them over the top. And you did get them over the top, but you just foul hooked them.
Right.
And some people just went to foul hook them as well in them first few years because they got, they could do it.
What, there were that many fish people used to purposefully...
Yeah, I'm not mentioning any names, but there's one or two that were good at it.
Right.
And they just chuck a ball of ground bait and lower the float over it and just foul hook one.
That's not very good,
No,
is
you
it?
didn't, mate. It's horrendous. But eventually we got it sorted out that you didn't need much in your ground bait. You didn't need to ball it a long way out. I mean, all the Dutch lads that never fish further than 13 metres anyway. And there were no need to. We used to ball it 10 metres, fish at 11, and then come back on your ground bait and just put half pint of casters in and a bit of corn. Just fish maggots or casters over the top. But we found a good tactic was to fish a straight lead about 3 yards past your bait.
What, past where you'd balled it?
Just balled it. There's that many fish there and just 3 or 4 maggots on straight lead, and sometimes it was brilliant. For 2 hours you'd get bites. Me and Billy Reynolds sorted all that out. It was brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, where there's no bait at all?
No bait at all. And then
That's
you'd
mental.
come in on your feed, and it was either bait dropping or big potting casters for me.
Right.
You couldn't use catapults. And
why banned?
Banned for
still are, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they still are. Yeah, the tackle shops all sell them. You go and watch anybody pleasure fishing; they're all firing casters in. But we couldn't use them in the matches. Used to use these throwing sticks, and it was horrible, man. Using a throwing stick for the first time, it was just like with me potting micros in. There was just a trail out to where you were fishing. You know what I mean? It's horrible. But bait dropping and big potting had the days when sometimes bait dropping weren't very good, and then you'd pour a big pot of casters in, and you'd see bubbles come up, and the fish would go down on your bait. Whereas when you bait drop it, I think you'd bait drop it, they was like 3 or 4 foot off the bottom. Bait dropper went through, opened up, they weren't even interested. But when you potted a load of casters in and they went through them, they just followed them down. Sometimes they came right up in the water. That was phenomenal fishing. That's when they got the really big weights.
What, fishing shallow for
Fishing
them?
shallow, like 6 foot deep.
You'd never do that on a canal, would you?
No. But they came up. Some days you could see them. They were that shallow.
What, swirling and...
Just swimming about.
That's crackers.
Yeah. And you couldn't really catch them when you could see them, but they're like 6 foot. You just put your float in. It didn't matter whether you had a strung out rig or an olivet. As long as your olivet were that foot, you'd put it in. There were no bites on the drop. It'd just go in, run a yard and just bury. And there were bigger fish then, shallow. Some reason there were big females, but you only got the odd £5 or £4. Most of the fish was all £3. And I know now the big fish now. I mean, I went for about 10 years, and then they had a big fish kill and they blamed the anglers, and the powers that be changed the format of the matches. They made them 4 hours with an hour's. You could pre-bait an hour before, and like a lot of the pegs took a couple of hours to start catching properly.
Yeah,
and you just ran out of time.
Right.
And I just lost a bit of art in it, interest in it, really.
Stop going.
I haven't been back since, to be honest. It's changed now. I mean, I don't mind, feed. I used to catch a lot on feed as well when there was in the rushes under the bank. We used to fish tight in the rushes with a pansier feeder.
What feeder?
Pansier.
What's one of them?
It's what Pansier, the angler.
Willem
Pansier.
Yeah.
He used to make these feeders, and he wouldn't talk. He used to make out. He never used to talk too much. Yeah, you'd say to him, "Can I buy some feeders off you?" He'd talk. He was fluent in 6 languages. Then, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it was good for what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
There's only one open end. You chuck them right to the, and you had to be right tight on the rushes. It was hard to do. And I got it right. And he used to catch, when the fish was up against the rushes, you see him topping and swirling in the rushes, getting ready for spawning. You had to fish right tight to the rushes. Like, if you could get a peg sort of like 2.5, 3 foot deep against the rushes, and they were topping.
Wow.
It was solid. Some places it was only inches deep and it were no good. But if you dropped sort of a yard off the rushes, it were too deep. It had dropped down to 8 or 9 foot of water, and all you got was liners. But
it sounds crazy for a canal, though.
Yeah, but it was brilliant, mate. I got it quite good.
What were the biggest weight you caught over there?
Me personally, about £140, something like that. I caught quite a few £100.
Phenomenal fishing,
It
innit?
was brilliant fishing, mate. You could catch when it was fishing. I mean, we even went when Easter was early in April. It was freezing, snowing, and you could even catch on every peg. Then you might only catch 2 or 3 bream, but there's still weights of,
Yeah, good
the biggest
fishing.
weight I've seen was 92 kilos. That was in an afternoon match, 4 hours.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was shallow. Yeah.
Mental
Chris
place.
Brown, that was who caught that. Remember Chris Brown, the bream angler?
I've heard name.
Yeah, he caught him on pole, shallow.
They still have like 3 weeks of festivals
Yeah, they
nowadays,
do. Yeah,
don't
they do. Pat runs 3 now.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a few going this year. They normally end up with 100 and odd on one of the 3. I think it depends how many Dutch want to fish and Belgians and Germans and all that. That's what bumped the numbers up.
Would you ever go back, Wayne?
I might do, mate, but I don't know. When you've been somewhere, you've seen it all, haven't you? You know what I mean? Sam keeps asking me to go back.
Does
I
he?
used to love going with Don and Sam and Billy Reynolds and all that. We used to have a right laugh.
Yeah.
Mooner and earrings and all that.
What's the most funny memory you've got of fishing in Holland with them lot? Must have an odd story from
Mate,
Pat or...
Yeah, it wasn't Pat. It was earrings started coming with us with Mooner.
Who's Earring and Mooner?
Well, Keith Grieve, who worked with Billy, who started the company up with Billy,
right.
Big Mooner, massive he was.
Right.
Made me look like a baby. He was huge. Great bloke. He used to come, strangely enough, when we used to have Monday night matches at road rowing course
Yeah.
in Nottingham, home Pierpoint. There was him, Glenn Brown used to come up from London. Bob used to come just for a 3-hour evening match.
Oh, Bob Nudd?
Yeah.
Drive up from Essex?
Drive up from Essex for a 3-hour match. Ivan with it.
Never.
Yeah. But Keith and Glenn Brown used to travel together and fish together. They used to come up most Monday nights to fish. They loved it.
Right.
Mental, innit?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy. And, yeah, but Earrings is Graham Smith,
Right.
canal angler. He started coming anyway.
I get it now. That's how Graham knows Sam then.
Oh, yeah.
I get it.
You know, Sam and Billy and all that lot.
Yeah.
And anyway, the match is finished and I'm driving up the canal and Earrings waves his arm like, and I pulls the van over like, he says, "What do you reckon?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Come and look at this." And like walked down a bit of this rough bank, and it was at the top end where the landing stages went. There's like a little walkway onto the big landing stage. I says, "What?" And he said, "Turn around." He said, "Look at that." And under this banking to his right, about 3 or 4 yards, there was a seagull sitting there like that, perfect, with its head tilted towards the river. I says, "What's all them casters round?" He said, "I've been feeding it." He said, "It ain't moved." I says, "Is it alive then?" He said, "I don't know." And it was when there was a bit of bird flu. I says, "Give me your landing net pot." And it looked like it. He thought it was sitting on a nest, and it looked like it was sitting on a nest, but it ain't moved all day. Anyway, I got his landing net, poked it just fell over. Anyway, I says, "You're mentally ill." There's about half pint of casters round it where he'd been chucking them all day for this bird. And I never thought any more about it. I got in the car, went back to the digs, or went to wherever we might have gone to a restaurant and had something to eat. Because when you fished till 6 o'clock, you didn't get weighed in till 8. It was a nightmare if you was on the scales. You know what I mean?
Especially weighing in £100 a bream.
There's only one place who had it worse. That was a River Band, but that's another story. Anyway, gets back to having something to eat and that, and he didn't mention the seagull, and nobody brought it up in conversation. Anyway, I'm on groundbait duty next day. I used to mix all the groundbait up. We used to mix 6 kilos up in each bucket.
Right.
And Sam had to test it. He used to dip his hand in and say, "That's all right." Anyway, I'm carrying these buckets around for Mooner and Earrings. And anyway, he stopped me. He says, "Which one's mine?" I said, "Well, that's Mooner's bucket. That's yours." I said, "Give me that." Put it down. And he disappeared with Mooner's. I thought, that's strange. Anyway, I went round the corner. And there he is. He's got the seagull in his hand.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's got the seagull in, and he's pulled all the groundbait, Mooner's bucket, put it in with the beak up, covered it over. Like, he ain't going to look at it till he gets to his peg, you know what I mean? I've drawn 2 pegs away from Mooner. I cannot stop laughing and smiling. I'm sitting on my box and I'm choking. I've got snot coming out, and I can't stop laughing as I'm setting up. So I know what's going to happen. I mean, Moona was one. Sometimes when the whistle went to ball it, he'd take all his tracksuit bottoms down, his top off. He'd be naked apart from around his ankles, balling in. 30 stone of balling in ground bait. There's a road on the far side. There was all me, because I'd seen him. But he didn't do this time. Anyway, it was about 10 minutes before the match started, and I've started balling up, and I'm laughing. I know what's coming. I daren't look at him. He's looked at me a few times and seen me laughing, under my breath, and he's thinking, don't understand it. Anyway, I'm laughing. I've got my head down, making these balls up, and I can see him come up the bank, and I thought, any minute now, he's gonna, because he made massive balls of ground bait with his massive hands. Anyway, any minute now, and I heard, bastards, and he come out. He's got a ball of ground bait with a seagull hanging out of it, and he's gone absolutely mental. The biggest thing is he caught 2 bream all day, and he blamed this on this seagull in his ground bait. Anyway, he's gone mental. He's picking Moona up. And it's like 8 o'clock at night. He's just drove straight past Moona, straight past Earrings. It's 8 o'clock at night, half an hour. It's going to be pitch black. We'd already gone. We didn't know this. Anyway, it's come in the chalet or the calf, wherever it was. We used to have to go and have chicken and chips because Billy wouldn't eat anything else.
Yeah.
Unless it was roadkill. He'd have a bit of roadkill if you'd seen it, but he'd only eat chicken and chips. You know what he's like.
Yeah.
So he was in this cafe, and Keith comes in, and we're all waiting, and no sign of Earrings. Where's Earrings, Keith? And they were fuming. They were looking at me. I thought he was going to pick me up and throw me out the cab. He says, I don't know where he is. I haven't seen it. Anyway, I'd just gone straight past him. And we had to go and pick him up at 10 o'clock at night.
Never.
He was on the bank still, sat on his box at the side of the road, 10 o'clock at night, freezing cold.
No mobile phones are out then?
No. He might have been, there might have been, but nobody was answering. That's why we went and picked him up. But he never phoned Moona. and it was really frosty rest of the week between the two of them. They come round in the end, but mate, I was just apoplectic, whatever it is, on my box. I couldn't stop laughing.
Amazing.
And if he'd have caught 30 kilos, it wouldn't have mattered. But he caught 2 bream. He was going mental.
He thinks it's because of the
I
seagull.
think it's because of the seagull. Yeah. It was a black-headed gull. Perfect it was. Yeah.
What a great story.
Unbelievable, mate. Yeah. Fantastic. We used to have some right laughs,
Yeah, that's coming out as a trailer on its own.
I've already got it,
Yeah.
mate. Don't you
Fantastic, mate.
The dead seagull. What about Ireland, Wayne? Did you have some good times in Ireland?
Ireland were fantastic, mate.
What was your...
We caught it dead right. It was when there were loads... It was when everywhere were fishing well.
Mm.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
That went the same. It went crap. But we caught it when there was loads and loads of roach in the whole of the... Anywhere, the ban or the Earn system, it was just full of roach.
Did you win any festivals in Ireland?
I did win the Bass for Manor Festival after the Benson Edges. Me, Dennis and Alan Hansen stopped on in our chalet at Killyevlin.
Mm.
Yeah, and the first match, the river was coming up. It was horrible. Mm. There was snow all over the hills. It had been raining and it was coming up. And they were going to rotate. There was only 100 fish in it. They were going to rotate the section. So you wanted to be on corner grade, and I drew corner grade the first day.
Yeah.
And I drew the best peg on corner grade, which it was then, 26. It's the one that comes out the deep water into the... It's not shallow, it's 8. We used to be about 8 foot.
Yeah.
And the water was at the top of the landing stage. It was right up. And I didn't sit on the end bit. I sat on the T-piece.
Right.
With a net either side of me. And I just fished a 5-metre pole over the end, about that far from the platform. And I had 181 pound of roach.
Flipping
Yeah,
heck.
yeah. And the one big uns, it was all like 5-6 ounce. I did have 4 or 5 skimmers when they come in my peg.
Yeah.
For 3/4 an hour, I couldn't get me floating, just past the end of the landing stage. We were like that.
What, so many fish there?
So many bream skimmers there. There was all skimmers,
That is ridiculous.
And I caught 181 pound. And after that, the next day I drew either Corrigans or Schools. A massive walk round the corner. Had 1 roach. And then the last...
But that were a downfall,
one
wasn't it?
roach. The river was horrible then. It was brown and running. There's still some fish caught. I mean, the day I had 181 pound, Ian Heaps were next to me.
Yeah.
And he was second in the match with 90. and he caught one roach, the rest of them were skimmers, because it's fishing in about 14 foot of water, short, and his peg were full of bream. Caught one roach. And the lad below me had 70 odd pound, and we were first, second and third in the festival. All on one day. The last day I caught £7. You know, it was just a matter of, like anywhere, mate, you got on the right pegs on the right day.
That must be one of the best days fishing you've ever had, isn't it?
Phenomenal, mate. It was phenomenal. Just feeding a ball of ground bait with a few maggots in, that was it. No continental ground bait, just a big maggot tray behind me with ground bait, and I just kept getting it out. I'd got a little like bowl thing I clipped on the side of me.
Cracking fishing. I'd love to have seen.
Bob
talked
it was
about
mental, mate. Crook on the end of your pole.
No elastic.
Brilliant. Just struck like that. Just went, let them nod a bit like that, and you pulled them out and they all come out straight. I've got another story for you about this.
Go on then.
They all used to come out straight. Alan Hanson Bathrooms, he was with us. And he used to strike and just pull them out. And these roach was, especially on the band, these roach was all coming out like this, great big ones. And he used to hit his chest and he couldn't grab them. And he said, I've got to do something. And we told him, look, just take your time and hit him. He's got no elastic. You can't just swing them out. They're just still fighting. You used to let them just dog down a bit, especially like 10 or 12 ounce ones, and then just lift them out and they used to come out straight. Hit your chest and catch him. Yeah. He said, I can't do it. I've tried it. You can see him swinging out and they just drop off. And he says, I'm going into town. I've got an idea. I thought, well, all right, we'll see. What was it? Anyway, come back with one of them cork doormats that you used to put in front of your door.
Right.
Them thick ones like that. Spiky ones, right before you went in the house. And he come back with one of them. And he put some sisal around one end, hung it over his thing.
Never.
Two bits like that, tied it around his back, so he's got this doormat on the front of him. And his idea was to swing these roaches and catch him against this spiky doormat.
Oh my God.
And I thought, well, that ain't bad, but there was quite heavy, Anyway, the thing was, it rained and rained and rained, and this doormat filled up with water. And he couldn't even, at the end of it, he couldn't even get his head up to catch it. His neck was bent, and it's like, look, it's unbelievable, mate. He'll tell you about that. Me and Dennis was like rolling. It was unbelievable, mate. Yeah.
What were the band like, Wayne? Like, we spoke about Ireland a lot on podcasts, but it's always
been
at
Portadown. We used to. I never went down the bottom end where it was deep. And like that sort of took over when Portadown finished. It was just ridiculous, mate. There was that many roach in the system. I mean, you got Loch Neitz, the biggest lake in Europe. It was like, and all them roach come out there into the band, which was about like the Neen. Ridiculous
just
amount
cramming
of fish.
Through a tiny river, really.
But there was only in like like a big area, but if you went down the bottom end of the match length, it were never so good. But there were two match lengths, Eynde and what they used to call the boathouse section. About probably the bridge divided, and one was on one bank, one was on the other, and there was like the boathouse held great big roach. It was shallower, where Eynde was you might catch one an ounce and the next one might be a pound, you know what I mean?
Right. Two different stamps of fishing, two different bits of
one
river.
Was a bit deeper, probably 8 foot, Same fishing, ball of chuck, few maggots in it, few maybe cast a bit of you didn't use loads of ground bait.
Right.
4 maggots on a 12, Olivet BB dropper, £6 main line to a £4 hook length.
Quite brutal fishing.
Brutal fishing it was, mate. Yeah. And
must have taught you how to bag, though. Must have taught you how to be aggressive.
Yeah, it was. The only thing that spoilt it was when we used to fish a lot with glass poles, and in 5 or 6 metres was all you could fish. And obviously when Daiwa pole come out, I think it was an Amorphis or something like that, it were 9 metres, and all of a sudden everybody wanted to fish 9. The weights never went up. We just made it harder for ourselves. Then 11 metres, everybody wanted to fish 11 metres to hand, and like it just made it hard work.
Yeah.
But you had to go there because everybody were feeding out there. You know what I mean? We'd have all fished 3 metre whips. I think we'd have caught as many, to be honest. But I learnt loads. I was no good at it, to be honest. I learnt loads off Tommy and Dennis.
Really?
Dennis was brilliant, mate.
What did they do that were different?
They just knew how. They're just aggressive and knew how to fish it. Dennis, brilliant at it.
Did you ever win any on band?
I won one Yeah, I won one with £129, but...
A roach?
Yeah, a roach on the boathouse bit. My best weight, I'm always made of £141, and that was the record then. And Keith Hobson broke it the next day by a few ounces.
Wow.
Yeah. And, Dennis was just below me. And I knew he'd got a lot more than me. And anyway, we went down. You had to have, I mean, the keep nets weren't like we've got now or anything. There was like mini-mesh keep nets and things like that. And nylon. And you needed 3 or 4 people. Only one keep net with 100 and odd pound in.
Flipping
Yeah,
heck.
well, you only took one keep net. We ain't got no bars to put them, and you stick them in the ground anyway.
Yeah.
You know, you could have had 2, but nobody thought of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you had massive weights in one. I mean, I had 2 keep nets when I was on the urn, one either side of me. You know, but I never took 2 keep nets on the ban.
No.
And anyway, we went to lift it out. There's 3 or 4 of us lifting it out, and there's a piece of concrete stuck out the bank, and we just clipped it, and it just split his net straight away.
No.
Yeah. And fortunately, it wasn't deep water close to the bank. It was like inches deep, so we'd got a lot of the fish back. But I mean, they got the majority of them up on top of the bank. But I reckon he lost £30 in the split second.
No.
Yeah. And
That's like a bad dream, innit?
Yeah.
That's like a nightmare.
Yeah, he would have won. He would have won the match. Yeah, definitely. I had 100. He would have beat me by £25. Yeah.
What did he say, Dennis?
He went mental.
Did he?
But you know, he was on the net. I was on the net. 2 other blokes on the net, and it was like trying to get it up over the bank. We've got 100 and probably £50 in there that's moving. It's not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Not intentional, is it?
No,
Like
intentional, mate.
No.
And everybody said, well, you'll have to give him the money. He would have beat you. Now, they put me in a bit of a strange position, really, but I didn't give him the money. He was all right about it.
Yeah.
And it was a north versus south match. We used to fish north of England versus south of England. Only it'd be 40 or 50 on it, something like that. The one to massive amount of pegs where you caught these weights of fish. There seemed to be in one, like the bottom end of Oys Meadow, you'd catch 30, £40, but occasionally you'd get a big weight when there was must have been running through.
Still ridiculous fishing though,
Well,
£40 a roach on a river.
It was fantastic, mate. The sillies were the same. I fished a match on the sillies. Pete Bohr broke the world record, 230 odd pound.
Where's that?
That's Enniskillen. It's a little river that runs off. Sorry, a little river that runs into the Earn just below Enniskillen.
Frightening fishing.
The fish used to run up there.
Why do you think that the weights aren't like that nowadays? Why do you think you never see that kind of thing now?
They're not the number of fish, mate.
Where have they gone?
They just aren't there anymore, mate. It's just not right for them. It was a nice greeny brown colour the river was. No mussels. Never been fished for years.
Pressure, like you say.
Pressure, virgin fishing. It's all changed over there. It's gin clear now, isn't it? Mussels, they've been bad and going off, you know.
Do you think there'll ever be weights like that again anywhere in British Isles or Ireland or anything like that?
No. There might be the odd one. I mean, but there's a lot of hybrids where you might get big weights in little areas.
Not £180 though.
No. But we had a knock-up once. This is unbelievable. We had a knock-up once. And there were no platforms in at... I can't remember what it's called now. Go down the hill to it into a big lock.
Not airport.
It's on the other side from airport. Never catch out there now, very rarely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They catch in an evening, don't they?
Yeah.
What's it called
I don't know, I can't remember. But we had a knock up there on a Saturday, I think it was. No platforms in there, and them stone platforms that go out. There were none of them in. We fished off the bank. It's about that deep.
Yeah.
Like 5 metres to hand. And it was full of hybrids. It was boiling for your casters. And Dennis, 4 hours we weighed his fish. Dennis had £360 of hybrids.
Never. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Where are they now?
You know, great big ones were £1.5, £2 in about that much water. Chuck your casters in, they were swirling through.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, it was unbelievable, mate.
What's your funniest memory of Ireland? You must have had some good times over there.
Well, that one with Alan Hansen was funny. But, yeah, yeah. I mean, he was out all day and all night, mate.
Really?
Every day he was walking back to the chalet, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. The draw was at 8 o'clock. He was done. So we used to have a few of these, like, pills that kept you awake, you know what I mean?
Really?
Little blue pills. I'd take one and you could talk your head off, and you was awake all the time. And you'd know these. Reg Fern,
Yeah.
Franco Pizzulo. Did you know Frank?
No.
He used to have the Doncaster Angling.
Right.
Italian bloke.
Right.
And we'd been there all week, and he was absolutely knackered, Franco was. And he says, I've heard about these little pills you can get. I said, well, yeah, but you can only take one, Franco. He says, I'm knackered, I need something. And he was like 50 odd then, Franco was. And I says, right, I'll try and get some. I'd got a bag full. And they were like slimming pills, basically.
Right.
But there must have been loads of caffeine in them or something.
Right.
Amphetamines or something. We didn't know what they were. I can't tell you who was supplying me with him, by the way. But anyway, I got him 3. And I said to him, only take one each day. And he took all 3. And his eyes, he were laying on the bed the next day, and his eyes was wide open. He hadn't had any sleep for like 48 hours. They were dead. He couldn't sleep, and it was unbelievable, mate. And I was crying. Fantastic. But yeah, you couldn't do what we used to do without taking something.
No.
It was before speed and all that lot. Then it was just these little pills, like.
That's crackers.
And it was,
Who'd have thought at a fishing festival in Ireland you had to take a little blue pill to keep going because it was that intense?
It was mad, mate. You used to get them, have your evening meal up at the hotel, then just go down, have a shower, get dressed. It would be about 9 o'clock. You was out. Nuddy was out. Kevin was out. Kevin used to stand up singing. It used to be brilliant, mate. And all the discos and all that, and they never started till like 11 o'clock at night. There'd be nobody in the pub hardly having a drink, and all of a sudden there'd be crowds of people coming in.
What, 11 o'clock?
11 o'clock at night. And it'd be on till light.
Mental.
And
you should go fishing next day.
I mean, I couldn't take it. You couldn't take it after a week. We did a couple of weeks we used to do. And
You ever have a day off?
Yeah, I had the odd day off. Yeah. At first there used to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And you'd got Tuesday, Thursday off. But sometimes they'd organise matches. There was the King of the Coalbrook in between. That was on a Thursday. And then there was we had one year, Stan Smith were there.
Right.
And he had a England versus Ireland match. He asked you to fish like.
Yeah.
And he asked me to fish. And I said, yeah, I'll fish. Not thinking. And we'd gone out. 5:30, I'm walking down to the chalet. It's freezing cold, raining. I've got a shirt on. I'm wet through. We were assembling at 7 o'clock to drive to this River Eynde. And I'd had half an hour. I felt rank, mate. I got all my stuff ready. We got it in the car and we went. And Kevin were there, and Nuddy must have been there. Ivan and a few others, and all these Irish lads who were fishing and that. And I felt terrible. Anyway, I started on short pole, couldn't get a bite, and I'd seen a couple of roach top. It wasn't very wide. It was probably 18, 20 yards wide. Hardly moving like that peaty brown colour. So I started feeding a few maggots across, pouchfuls of maggots. Went on Waggler and I won the match, £33.
No.
Yeah, and Stan Smith says, well done, you fished well today. I think he was just having a wander about.
He used to pick England team, didn't he?
Stan was England manager, yeah. I thought, well, that's done me some good. It's in there, and I got back. God, mate, straight. I never went out that night. I was done.
Really?
Yeah, I don't matter how many pills I've had. I was done. But yeah, fantastic times. Loved it. Loved Ireland.
Obviously talking about the England team, that side of it, Wayne. There's all this experience and so many venues that you fished of at years. Was getting picked or fishing for England never on your radar?
Yeah, I fished. Yeah, it was. It was, to be honest. Obviously, Tommy and Dennis was in, and Bob and Kevin, and I just thought maybe I'll get in one day when it the Avon at Luddington and Stratford when they had it there. Dave Thomas got in. I was catching loads of fish at the time. Went on a couple of trial matches. They weren't trial matches, they were just guinea pig matches, really, to see how the river fish drew crap. Didn't catch a lot. But I was catching that many fish, and being on the Avon, I thought I might get in there. And I'd fished. Stan Smith had picked me for an home international in Ireland. I didn't do particularly well. Caught a lot of fish, on the river. I think it was on the River Moy or something like that. And there was big weights to be had a roach. I caught a lot. I also fished one against the French on the Ban.
Mm.
That was funny actually, because they'd only seen the river for 2 hours. The French, all the elastics were wrong. They'd got 5 elastics in and all this lot, and we thought this is going to be easier. Well, they battered us.
Wow.
Absolutely. And they stopped for like half an hour in the middle of them. They never fish 5 hours, do they? They stopped for half an hour in the middle of the match and had wine and cheese. Yeah, stopped. Just completely stopped. All of them.
And you were carrying on fishing?
We carried on fishing.
And they still beat you?
Beat us easy.
How?
It beat us easy. I was in between, I don't know, French anglers, a well-known French angler. And I was at Barry, I can't remember his name now. Barry used to have from Nottingham actually, he moved to Ireland. He'd got the, Barry Nicholson,
right.
He'd got the bait farm over there. And I was drawn next to him. I knew Barry anyway. And come the end of the match, like, he said, how you gone on? I says, well, I've definitely beat the Frenchman, but Barry's beat me. Well, Barry beat me. I had like 80 odd pound. Barry beat me. He had about 100 pound. The Frenchman had 120 odd.
No.
Yeah, and he'd stopped for half an hour.
And you never saw him catch?
Well, I saw him catching, but you ain't got time to keep looking, eh? When they're catching one a choke. But he didn't seem to be catching that well. He was netting fish. We were swinging him out, and he beat me easy.
How did they beat you, having never seen it?
Don't know, mate.
Bloodworm or anything like that?
No, mate. Maggots. They'd got little thin tops in, like with light elastic, and obviously they changed all that. It wasn't like that the next day, when they was practising. They only practised for a couple of hours. You could hear them talking and ho 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 and all this lot. And next day it was just carnage, mate.
Great fishing,
yeah,
though.
absolutely fantastic. Great experience. Loved it.
Mega.
Loved it. That was on Oy's Meadow. That was where the fish was all different sizes, but no, it was phenomenal. But going back to England, yeah, I did think I'd got a chance on the Avon, and then Dick had a few trial matches at Bloodworm on that, and I did all right, but I never thought I'd get in. But I never really understood what it needed to get in.
What do you mean?
Preparation-wise and dedication, and I never really understood it, how much I needed to put into it.
Do you now, looking back?
Oh,
or?
yeah, mate. It'd be totally different now, yeah.
What do you think it takes to do it?
Well, you've got to be brilliant, you've got to have the time, you've got to have the money, and, you've got to be brilliant and do everything right to get in. Preparations, everything.
Are you a big prepper, Wayne? Do you do a lot of prep now? Or?
I'm not as big as I should be. I'm one like, make a few rigs, that'll do, And
have you always been that way?
Well, we all used to, like, my preparation for years and years was buy a gallon of maggots on a Friday night, clean them off, tie a few hooks, out for a pint. Make your wagglers and stick float or whatever when you got to your peg.
Not just used to set your rods up on bank.
Yeah, used to have loads of time, set your rods up on bank. We had shots then you could put on the line and move about, instead of pinging off like they do now and all that. I still make stick float rigs up on the bank there, because I don't put them on winders out.
No.
Never like to. Don't know, I just look at my peg and plumb up with float on. If it's not right, I'll take the 2 rubbers off and put one on and just shot it up.
Maybe that's quite a good thing, though. I almost see that as been quite versatile and fluid. And
yeah, well, the flow's different, isn't it? And like sometimes you might think, well, it's rattling a bit here. I'll put a bit heavier float on. You might not have one on the winder. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Waggler were dead easy to set up, really, wasn't it? Just bulking a few, bulk around your float and a few droppers for me.
And it still is same.
Yeah.
Still is same.
Yeah.
What's left for you to do now? Like, what's your fishing going to entail now? Because obviously we've spoke about so much that you have done. Like, what do you see yourself doing?
Well, I'm doing what I want to do now. Is like just fish river matches when there's a decent match on. Burton-on-Trent, Riverfest. Got a few tickets again for Riverfest this year, which I find hard to qualify. I'm envious of your boys that just turn up and qualify. It's unbelievable, mate. You're that good.
Give over.
Yeah, and try and get in the final because it's on my local. I never bothered really when it was on the Y because it was a bit specialised. You'd have had to have had that much new kit to do it. You know what I mean? And but now it's like I fished the final on the 7 at Shrewsbury. I won the first day and then ended up 5th. Like it was hard. It was an hard match. It was flooded.
There was some
horrible.
water coming.
Oh,
Weren't
it was
there?
horrible, mate. Yeah,
I remember that one.
I drew the wrong way round. Really, if I'd have drawn me the peg I drew on the last day first, I wouldn't have caught much. But the peg I drew on the first day, I would have caught. I caught £5 off it, like a couple of eels, a couple of big roach, a perch. You know, but it was a good peg. It was a good area to be in, just at the bottom of the shallows. I think if I'd have drawn there the second day, I would have caught a lot of fish. But the colour were dropping out the second day, and I was down in the deep water, and I caught like nearly £3 a dace on little ground bait feeder, like third of the way out.
Right.
And there's blank there the day before. You know what I mean? Probably, I don't know, 18 foot deep. It wasn't right.
If there were a competition left for you to win now that you hadn't run, what would it be?
Riverfest, mate.
That'd be it.
Yeah, I'd love to win that.
I'd love to see you in that one.
I'd love to win that. Don't suppose I ever will, but you never know.
What do you mean? You got more chance than most.
Well, you've got at Burton Joyce, mate. It's difficult to win it. I mean, they all say to me, "What you put the barbell peg in?" Because I peg it out. What you put the barbell peg in for? Well, I put the green peg in every time where you drew. Which is a great breed. Never caught them there, have they?
No.
Paul Cannon caught a few a bit lower down, but they've never caught. So you don't know. They're never going to catch them barbel every time.
No. The bream peg now is up on the road, isn't it?
Yeah, well, nobody would ever think you'd catch there.
No.
And where you catch, it's not. You're chucking like 3/4. It's weedy. It's not. They just want to live there.
It's an interesting final, that one is.
Well, there's just Burton Joyce is the perfect place to have a final because there's that many different ways of catching the fish. Dace fishing on feeder, pole and casters and ground bait, or loose feeding them over the top of it, and stick float, waggler. You can catch it on all sorts, mate.
Do us a favour, win it this year, and then you can come back in and we can do another podcast all about it.
Yeah, I can do that, mate.
Shall we do that?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Awesome. Let's do
good.
it. I've got quite a few little questions I want to ask you. Obviously, when we sat down this morning, I put a little picture of me and you on Facebook and asked people to ask questions.
Yeah.
I've not looked at it yet. Phone's down here, being on flight mode, so I'm going to take it off. This will be embarrassing now if there's no questions.
There'll be 2.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. Is there one from Steve Winter?
I've checked. There's definitely more than 2.
Have you had a look already?
I've had a look, yeah.
Right, let me have a little look then. Tackle Guru. 43.
Sound.
That'll do. Right.
We ain't got time to give through 43, surely.
Right, I'm going to pick 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a flick through and I'm going to pick 3. All comments. Steve Harwood says, my favourite legend.
Yeah. He owes me a tenner anyway. He's a Liverpool fan.
Oh, is he?
I had a tenner at the beginning of the season, we'd finish above him.
Oh, yeah, you can definitely cash that in.
Yeah.
I think they're 29 points behind.
Yeah.
Just a nice reminder for any more Liverpool fans out there.
Cy Mottram says,
Yeah.
you know Cy.
Yeah, know Cy really well.
Wayne is one of my favourite anglers and one of my all-time heroes. Question is, where do you see match fishing in 10 years' time?
That's a tough one. Not much different to it is now, to be honest. I think there'll still be loads and loads of commercial matches, probably too many. There'll still be river matches, but whether there'll be less people fishing, because obviously in 10 years' time, a lot of us ain't going to be here, mate, that fish all the matches I fish. There is some young uns coming through, probably more so on commercials, but I see some, but I don't see so many on, the matches I fish on rivers. I just think there'll probably be the same matches, but in smaller fields. Whether this pollution of sewerage and everything's going to take its toll, and commercials will be the number one again. I don't know.
Why do you think commercials are becoming more popular?
Just think it's easy for older people, mate. Just get out your car and fish flat on a flat platform. Just dead easy. I love it. I love it in the winter. Nothing worse than getting your barrow up to go and walk half a mile up the river. And then
Not
get down a bank, and then get down a horrible bank into rocks and fish. It's not what you want to be doing, is it? We do it because we love the fishing, but it's not what you want to be doing.
It's not easy, is it?
No, it's
not an easy
our
day
age,
out.
it isn't, mate. My age, it isn't.
Wait till you get to my age.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a few very jokey comments on here. Steve Harwood says Arsenal were lucky on Sunday.
Yeah,
Gary
We
Miller,
were lucky.
Gary Miller, who obviously was on the Essex Essex team that fished the last ever match, has put, looking forward to seeing my old captain Wayne Swinscoe, great guy and mate.
Yeah. I haven't spoke to Gary for a couple of months, but he normally phones me, or I phone him. He normally phones me more.
Paul Moss says, please ask him how good John Dean was on the Trent.
Yeah, he was good. He wanted, in my eyes, he wasn't as good as Pete Warren, but it was a different area. Colin Perry said he was better than Warren, but he was brilliant, mate. He was one of them that he'd like catch 6 roaches 6 runs down. Anybody else would be going, oh, and he'd change it and catch 8 runs, and he'd alter and catch 8 runs in 8 chucks. You know, he was like that. It was good. Very good. I drew next to him about 3 times and he never beat me. But I've drew next to people like, I used to draw next to Steve Draper. I always thought I was better. I never beat him.
Really?
Yeah, I never beat him. Yeah. And that's how fishing is, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Everyone's got their own style and their own way, haven't
Exactly,
they?
mate. Yeah.
Everyone has.
And, yeah, it was good. But he got Mardy, really, when the feeder come out, he just jacked it.
Did he?
But he was really, really good, yeah.
Right.
I can remember he come on the Welland weeds one day and he drew 2-2-4 on this bend, and I says, you'll win the match there, John, today with roach, and he did. He fished for roach on Waggler and he won the match.
Fair play.
Yeah, he was a really good angler.
I've still got, or my dad's still got a box of stick
He won
floats.
He won a lot of matches.
He used to do floats, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. John Dean floats, wire stems and plastic bottom sticks. Yeah. I've still got a load of them. To be honest, I never liked them.
No.
He made them work cool. I didn't like John Allerton floats.
Which ones did you used to use?
I used to use Ultra Lignums and Pete Warrens. If I wanted to fish out into the distance, like 4, 5, 6 rod lengths out, I used to use Ultra Lignums. Brilliant.
Wow.
Cast like a 5 number 4, you could cast it miles.
Tom Norton says, ask him his thoughts on barbel.
I can't say what I would like to say. What I say after matches. But yeah, they're not my favourite fish because I don't get many out, to be honest. I've never caught a 10-pounder.
Have you not?
No, I've caught quite a few at £9 and £8. I'll tell you a funny story, actually.
Go on.
First match of the season, couple of years ago on the Trent, I drew peg 1 on the weir tops.
Right.
Bream fishing like and
peg 1 on the weir top where?
Dyke.
Ah, got you. Yeah, on Dyke.
Where them big lily pad beds are.
Yeah.
Like you walk out, don't you, to the edge of the drop off, and anyway, I was catching a few skimmers and it's gone. I've upped this barbel, thought I've gone down the peg a bit and it stopped. I've had it before and they've just kept going and broke me. And I've got it coming back, and it's just coming up the river. Like I'm thinking this is a carp, because it's not going mental, and then it's gone back down, and like I've got a few winds on it, and then I've started to bring it in, and like it's come in, and my line is going through that lily bed to the right. And I thought, oh, no, I know what's going to happen here. It's going to get back and it's going to crack me off with the lilies. Anyway, I've got it there like that, and it's stuck. I've wound down onto it. It's stuck. I thought, God. And then I'd got my normal glasses on. The sun was out. I couldn't see where my line was properly. So I took my bail arm off, put my rod on my rod rest, and I've gone back to my car to get my sunglasses. Come back and my line's peeling off like that. I'm thinking, oh, it's out. And I've let it go. It must have gone 40, 50 yards down my peg, out into the river. So I've clipped my bail arm off, started to wind. I've gone about 3 winds like that. I can't wind anymore. My rubber stop, I've got my feeder running between 2 rubber stops. My rubber stops caught in the weed. And I've wound, and it's in my top eye. And I've got a barbel on 40 yards away. There's a bloke stood behind me. They thought, what's this prat doing? So, what do? So I put my rod over my shoulder like that.
Yeah.
Got the line, took my bail arm off, pulled it down, got the stop, and gone like that as far as I can, and like 3 or 4 yards, and I'm feeling that the fish is pulling me on. Clipped my bail on back up, wound down to the stop again, put my rod down,
No.
pushing this. I don't think I was on more than 016. This is the thing. And I thought, and I'm like that, it's still pulling. And like, it's getting ridiculous now. I've had it on for like 40 minutes. And I've done this about 4 times. And I can see these lilies beginning to pull where the fish is. And I've got wound down to it, and I'm on the fish then. And like, I thought, anyway, I've just wound down, and I've thought, I'm just going to ease this up. And I've eased it up. And all of a sudden, this barbel's come up. If it had had a white flag, it waved it. It just come up on top like that. And I got my landed it, netted it.
You get him?
Yeah, £9.12 it was. And that is the luckiest barbel. I mean, I've had it where it's just gone like that on a £10 line and there's no there.
Yeah.
So to get this one out, I weighed 20 odd pound. Come 30. I never caught any bream again after that. I don't know why, but I didn't.
Wow.
And I come third in the match, but that is the luckiest barbel I've ever caught and ever will catch.
Absolutely.
And this
fantastic.
when I netted it, I looked round at this bloke and he was just staring like that. I didn't know him from Adam. He was just there going like that. Fantastic, you know.
When your name's on it, your name's on it.
Yeah.
That's what you need at Riverfest final, something like that.
Well, I was about, what was RB1? I was peg 5 or 7 where the post is.
Yeah.
I can't remember what match it was. Dean Smith were below me. Me and Dean Smith then, it was fishing crap. Neither of us had a bite for ages. And like I was fishing at like right over. Jamie Mills said, chuck to the third buoy to the left and you won't get fast. And I never did get fast.
Fair play.
Yeah, and such a big maggot feeder on. I could chuck in the middle and catch 1 or 2 little skimmers on a ground bait feeder in the middle. I kept doing that to rest it out there, fishing a big maggot feeder. And like, couldn't catch anything down the middle anymore. I'd got about £3. And about 20 minutes, I said to Dean, you had out yet, Dean? I looked back and my rod's going like that. And I picked up and I thought, oh, God, this will get me. I'll win my section here. And I think it was in the 3-day, I'm not sure, at the bank holiday weekend. And I've gone like that. Oh, it's a big one. I go halfway back and it's gone like I thought, how can it break me like that? And I'd pulled out of it and it was doing no.
No.
And that was it. I never had another bite.
Oh, God.
And I was absolutely gutted. I had 1 bite over there and that was it. Stopped, weighed in £3 on. I thought there's going to be ages with the results at the pub. I'm going to stop on. Like, packed everything up, apart from my bait and my feeder rod and everything, put it in the van, sat there on feeder, chucked out like that. It hit bottom, it went. There was people started to fish either side of me.
Barbel anglers.
Yeah, but chucking everywhere. Anyway, it's gone in. 4 maggots has gone. I've had a bream £5. I thought, that's unbelievable. Chucked out again. I've had a barbel about £8. Then another one that done me. And then I packed up to go back for the results. But I just thought, I ain't done anything different. It's just time of day, the feeding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But barbel fishing's like that, isn't it? You're just sometimes going to fish for 1 bite. And it's lucky if you get it, isn't it?
We'll have to take you on home, March.
Yeah.
You have to come with me and Noughton and that.
Yeah,
we'll have
will
a
do,
go.
mate. I will. I was going to go before, but, you know.
We'll catch a double figure one. $1,000,000%. Like, give it till about October time and we'll go and have a go, for sure.
Yeah. I'm hoping I've caught one by then, actually, a double figure one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you will do. You will do. You got too many of them.
I've got loads of them, mate.
I've got a few quick fire questions for you
Yeah.
that we always ask on podcast. Every guest gets these. Your answer off the cuff. I haven't teed you up with these, so you don't know them yet, unless you've listened to some other podcasts, of course. An item in your seat box you couldn't live without. What is it? Quick fire question, please.
Stopped him there.
You'll have to edit this one a bit. Probably my lignum stick floats.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice one.
I could not fish. I mean, nobody makes stick floats any good to me anymore to fish Trent. They're always too big. Them floats I use are 40 years old.
Really?
I've actually glued them together a few times.
Can I have a look at them when I next see you on Bang?
Yeah, you can, mate.
Keep them in your seat box?
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Right. All right. Lignum stick floats. Not had that one before. Very relevant to yourself. If you could only fish one venue for the rest of your life, where is it?
Now it would be Burton Joyce, the way it's fishing.
River Trent.
Burton Joyce.
Beautiful. Great choice. I'd join you on that one, I reckon.
I would have said Medley years ago, because on the Thames I had a great run at Medley. It was fantastic fishing.
Yeah.
Chubbing days. And in fact, I've said it before, Medley. I used to say Burton Joyce, now it's Medley. Now we've gone full circle back to where I am. I would say Burton Joyce.
Right, Burton Joyce. Who is the best angler that you've ever fished with?
Well, my hero's Pete Warren,
Mm.
which I said before. But the best angler I've ever fished with, when he was on it and in the England side, Bob Nudd.
Yeah?
Yeah, brilliant. And I
Mega.
fish with a lot of good anglers as well. A lot of good
Nice.
anglers. I can, you know.
Don't know if we've had Nuddy before, have we?
Have we not?
Don't know if we have. That's a great one,
No,
though.
to be fair, Will has been very common. Isn't
Will's
it?
always
That's
a common
it.
one. Yeah. Bob
That is
Nudd.
a very valid one, absolutely.
I wonder if we could get someone like Pete Warren on for a podcast. That'd be a good one, like.
You won't get him to come this far.
Would you not?
No.
Where's
We-
he
we can have-
based?
He's in Nottingham, mate.
We'll have to start
We're going to have to
moving.
have a mobile podcast on the go, aren't
Yeah.
we? I can
Yeah, he
see
was
that.
my hero. And like now, he's 80 odd. I take him every Wednesday on the Witherby in winter.
Do ya?
Yeah, pick him up.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, pick him up. Love it. You know.
Cracking.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you could change about fishing, Wayne, what would it be?
A lot of the people that run matches don't appreciate how to run the matches for anglers.
Mm.
You know, I'm not saying they do a bad job, they do the best they can, but I always think, like, don't take any money out of the payout for expense. I mean, strange thing is, I'm mad. I run matches, I put my pools in every time, basically because I think I'll get it back in the long run. You know what I mean? And the pegging, peg the match to catch fish. It's like, you need room nowadays to catch any fish, even in commercials. If you put pegs in silverfish matches, every peg in, it just don't work. But you give them every other peg and it's a different venue. And just peg matches to suit anglers and give them a good day out. You know what I mean?
That's what we go fishing for.
Exactly. And these people that say, I've left them 2 pegs out there because they're good, or I've put 3 pegs in there because it's good, it's leaving it out. It never does, never works. And people that say, I peg the match out as fair as I can. You can't do it.
No.
I go fishing to catch fish. I don't want the best pegs left out. All right, they might win the match. I might not be on them, but somebody else is going to have a nice day's fishing.
And
You've still got to catch them.
And some days you will be on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one and a good one. Plenty of room. Peg matches nicely.
Yeah.
If you had to give someone who's never been fishing before some words of inspiration to go and give it a go, what would you say to them?
Go and go to your local tackle shop, ask for some advice, and when you do go fishing, make sure you enjoy it. Even if you don't catch any fish, try hard and just try and keep bettering yourself and talk to people that's going to help you. That's the only way to start. I mean, when I started fishing, you know, there was, although none of our family were fishermen, there was clubs to join and everything. There isn't now. I mean, there isn't the amount of clubs that you can go and join the junior section or they'll take you fishing. So you have to do it virtually on your own now. I mean, you do a thing, the pathway thing, which is brilliant, but there was nothing like that in our day, and you just had to fend for yourself, really. But make sure when you go, you enjoy it and be safe. And if you're starting up, you know.
Definitely. That like takes us right back to the start of the podcast with you. Like you said, there were 300 in that first junior match, and there were loads of clubs and pubs and working men's clubs, and that's not there now.
No.
So anyone fancies it, go in a tackle shop, ask. If you see anglers on bank,
They're
talk to them.
all anglers, mostly in the tackle shops that work in them. They'll put you dead right.
Yeah.
You know, every local tackle shop's in an area where there's different sorts of fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, when I used to work in Jerry's a bit when I packed up work for a couple of days a week, and the young kids used to come in 6 weeks holidays. I say, where are you going, lads? And they'll say, oh, we're going to so-and-so commercial. I say, why don't you try the Trent? This is in Nottingham. Why don't you try the Trent on the embankment? Where's the Trent?
Don't know.
Don't know, mate.
No.
Don't know.
The most important one, have you brought us a gift to leave with us for the podcast?
I have.
Where is it?
It's in this bag here. I put it in 3 bags so you can't see it.
Right, not because it's smelly.
No.
I like how people have started to wrap these now. haven't they?
Yeah.
3 bags.
What have we got in there?
You've actually seen this,
Have I?
but it's going to be. I can't even get the bag open. Yeah,
No, how weird's that?
yeah.
That is brilliant. We've not had
What-
one of them before.
What is it, Matt? I can't see it from here.
Wayne's Waggler video.
Oh, mega!
Yeah.
But I was trying. I'll be honest with you. When you brought it up earlier, I was trying to find some clips online.
That's mental.
That's mad.
Yeah,
I've got that video. Can I have a look?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can remember that. Flipping heck. Because I remember you had a shallow waggler set up, nice
Yeah.
and light, a bit of a deeper one for
Yeah.
fishing up bottom.
How old's that video now?
Nearly
it got a
30
date
years.
on it?
Nearly
I don't know.
30 years.
There might be some people in our audience that have probably never seen a videotape like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that, folks, is a videotape.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's before DVDs were a thing.
Wow.
yeah.
I wonder if anyone... Wow.
That's a proper bit. That's
It's not a
mega.
date.
You can get them now. They're sought after. You can get them now for 10p on any car boot sale.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's the
wicked.
first ever
Yeah.
video we've had on there.
I did a book with Don Slaymaker when I was in Shakespeare. Ken Giles set this. We wrote a book on hog fishing, me and Don.
Yeah.
But we didn't write it. This author just sent us a million questions to answer, and he put it together. But I couldn't find it. I was going to bring you that, but I thought I'll bring that because, like,
I watched that.
Yeah.
I've got this as
Yeah.
well. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
you can't
really
play
cool.
it anymore, though, can you? You ain't got a video player,
No,
have you?
not got a video player.
Don't worry, Matt. I've had a look. There's refurbished ones on eBay.
Is there
Christ,
really?
They go for £100 on eBay for a videotape player.
How old were you there, Wayne?
Well, I was fishing for Essex, so it's in the 90s. I reckon it's about 94, something like that. So
Crackers. One of the very best river anglers in Britain. Put him
40
on one of the very
roundabout,
best
40.
venues. Fabulous film that even fully experienced anglers can learn from. The mechanics of waggler fishing. Secrets learned during many years at the top. And you're still there now?
I won't say I'm at the top anymore,
Yes,
mate.
you are. Thank you very much, mate. That's a wicked gift.
Next podcast guest needs to bring a videotape player.
Yeah. Yeah, we're there then. We can watch
That's
it
it.
as
We
well.
can put it
Yeah.
on.
Personally, mate, I'd like to say massive thank you for coming on. Obviously,
Loved it.
I have got, and I know so many people who are listening, so much respect for years and years of fishing,
Yeah.
winning, so many different venues, so many teams. And I know you're not one for blowing your own trumpet, but I don't think there's many people in fishing has won as many big matches individually, team-wise,
Yeah.
for so many different successful teams. Shakespeare, Trentman, Nottingham, Essex County,
Yeah.
what you have done in match fishing, I have got utmost respect for, and I know so many listeners has, and I dare say no one on the planet has probably won as many big matches on as many different rivers
Yeah.
as yourself.
Yeah,
So
probably right there. And the biggest thing is I've enjoyed every bit of it, no matter where I've been, because we've always done it as mates. The team, it's like you and Barnsley, you're all great mates, aren't you? There's nobody there that's rocking the boat. And if there was anybody in our teams, we'd have got rid of them, but we didn't have to. Everybody did it as mates.
well, I hope that I can
You know.
still keep fishing with you, mate.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
rivers. Thank you very
I'll
much.
see you. I'll see
Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been brilliant.
Thank you,
Yeah.
mate.
Something I wanted to do.
Good.
Thanks for asking me.
Absolutely welcome.
Because nobody knows your story, really. They see you on the bank, but they don't know your story.
Well, are you going to come back on when you've won Riverfest?
I will come back on if ever win Riverfest.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Thanks
Let's
a lot,
hope
mate.
it's in about 10 months' time. Well, no, 6 months' time. But I doubt it somehow, mate. Can't get Adrian Whittle off them green pegs. Frightening.
Thank you very much, Wayne.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot.